Because you need it.
Dude, I don't know what this music is, but it's it kind of hits. Right? Those beats, dude. I'm always on the hunt for DMCA free beats. You know what I mean? And this one I found recently. It's on Spotify. It says DMCA free lo-fi beats that you can play while streaming without the fear of getting striked. So what about that? I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. What's up? The Cash Hit, Wakolder Bear, Sartak. Good to see you guys. Sartak, nice to see you. It's been a bit.
Everybody knows
Jake the Programmer,
databases don't
thank you for this Prime Gaming subscription.
Joins, and
Really appreciate that. Appreciate your support. Happy Friday to you too. Yeah, so it's Friday again, huh? It's happening really quick these days. I feel like the weeks are just flying by. You took today off work for this. Oh my God, I feel extremely privileged for that, Sartak. That's great. That's exciting. A distant second for the 4-day weekend. Right. Yeah, of course. Presumably the 4-day weekend is, that's just a second concern. What's up, Rail? How are you doing? So I don't know what's new. It's still snowy here. Very snowy. It's been like a snowy couple weeks here in New York. I don't know if I talked about this last week, but I love snow in New York in general. I love snow in general. It's very irrational, but when it's snowing, when there's snow on the ground, the part of my brain that's always like unconsciously low-grade anxiety about climate change, it just turns off. I know that's irrational, and don't come at me with saying that just because it's cold, I know. Just because it's cold, it doesn't mean that there's no climate change. Obviously, there's climate change no matter whether it's cold or not. But irrationally speaking, that part of my brain turns off, and it's nice. So that's one reason I like the snow. Another reason is, start to dream about skiing, start to remember what it was like to be a kid. Snowball fights, you know what I mean? Sledding. All this stuff is, it goes into the heart. It makes you feel a certain way. So, yeah, I don't know. People complain about winter, in my experience. They're like, winter makes me depressed. It gets dark out early. You get the seasonal affective depression or whatever. And for me personally, I don't know. Winter's just so much better, you guys. You don't have to worry about getting super sweaty. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about like freaking out, panic, worrying about air conditioning. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like, all right, things are cold. You bundle up, you get cozy. You know what I mean? You take a walk in the park. It's calmer, it's quieter. So those are my thoughts about winter. You hate snow? You got clobbered in Massachusetts? Makes the city look clean or maybe pure. 6 to 7 inches of snow today? Wow, that's actually a lot. Where are you at? I wish we got 6 to 7 inches of snow today. But yeah, anyway, so point is that yeah, it's winter. It's February. Do you say February or February? That's a question that I've always had. I think used to confuse myself about that. Now I always say the R. Never not saying the R. All right, so what's the deal? Let me tell you quick updates. Updates in my life include, mostly during this week, I've been extremely busy doing meetings at work, stuff like that, writing documents, making plans, talking with people. And yeah, I think that's the thing about life right now for me, is that this is my day. This is my day to do a little coding. But it always means that I just haven't done anything on any of the projects in between this Friday and the last Friday. So we're coming in hot, you know, we're coming in fresh, and it'll be pretty exciting, I think. I think there's a couple things on the agenda today. So let me switch over to the old desktop. Oh yeah, I you might notice there's a little difference in the keyboard here. I used to have this keyboard. This used to be the keyboard that I used, and I haven't used it in a while, but I started using it because it's a little quieter. I can't remember if I told you guys that my girlfriend's been like really getting pissed at me for having too loud of a keyboard. So I got this guy out of storage, and it's got the, you know, the MX Brown switches, so it's a little bit quieter, a little bit less of like a rackety racket kind of thing. Yeah, it's in a trace. Have you guys heard of this thing called let's see, it's called like guy makes mechanical keyboard louder? Joke on Twitter. What's up, BJ Kegley? Happy Friday to you as well. Happy Friday to everybody. What was the best thing that happened to your week? Red switch BF, brown switch GF. I just want to pull up this video because I just think it's worth the time, just since we're talking about loud red switch BF, loud blue switch GF, or whatever. It's called, here we go. You guys ready for this? Okay, well, I've sort of failed because it's like you already see what's gonna happen in the video. Okay, we're gonna pause it. We're gonna pause it. We're gonna turn the volume up. This video is called Making My Keyboard More Annoying Part 3. What's up, Cy Renukes? Here we go.
You need me to look something up? I got you. Okay, yeah. Actually, that actually shook the entire table.
So what do you guys think of that? It's pretty good. Pretty good tweet, honestly. Pretty good video. And when people tell you that TikTok is for children, I just have to say that, I mean, come on, this is like some good shit. These are some good jokes here. Yeah, I'll drop the link. I'll drop the link in the chat. Let's see. Your Model M is louder. Yeah. So anyway, point is, this other keyboard I've got going on here, it's a little quieter, a little chiller. So anyway, what's on the agenda today, huh? What's on the agenda today? I wanted to quickly pull up something that we worked on last time. Let's see, how do I do that? Command for DB books. I think it's database books. Maybe it's just DB books. There we go. You had it right, Jake. You had it right. Okay, so what did we get to last time? What were we up to last time? Let's see. Author me. Couple things to finish up here.
I have to narrow down the search.
Database.
By guessing.
I need Java. Thank you for the follow. All right, so let's see. We got a little bit of a quick little change request here to fix. So let's get that branch checked out and fix up the comments here. Check out include schema in ranges. Started to read the book you recommended, Database Internals. It's amazing. That's the database.dev, right? Isn't that the database.dev? Database internals. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I've heard it's pretty good. I've heard they get into a lot of cool stuff there, right? Whisk key, all sorts of fancy stuff. What have you found so interesting so far? What are you using for get change set to be shown as numbers? It's this thing called get number. Oops, let's get rid of that. Yeah, people ask about that one. But anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and get into things, right? Get rid of this. Can we use session data public schema name? Oh yeah, so the idea here was just that like we, I guess, put some constant and we should have used the named constant for it or something like that. Public schema name, right? Okay, so usually, crap. Now I have to update my keyboard command or something. I'm actually using this thing called Atreus62 today. So you can check that out. So what's going on with this? This needs to be a name or a string, I guess. This needs to be a string. I think we can just cast this because tree.name is just an alias for string, I think. Okay, so we'll just, that's all they wanted change-wise. So we'll just git commit amend it and push. Cool. You bought a Lily 58 almost 3 weeks ago and it still hasn't shipped. That sucks. The Lily 58, I think we talked about this a couple streams ago. It looks really dope. I kind of want to check it out because truth is, like, I like the split a lot better than the chunk, but the split that I have is really loud, so I kind of want to build a new one. But yeah. Okay, so back to the actual PR that we've been working on. It's this PG table size stuff. So first, I guess we'll rebase it onto the thing that we just changed, since I think that the thing that we just changed is the first commit on this branch. So we'll use our git rebase onto command. If you don't know about that one, it's a good one to learn. It's a way to rebase part of a branch onto another branch instead of like the whole branch. So you can say git rebase onto and put, wait, what was the name of our last, include schema in ranges. Okay, so git rebase onto include schema in ranges, then you put the point at which you want to start the rebase, so that's the last commit. And what that'll do is just sort of, you know, transplant that last commit onto the other branch that you specify into the onto part. Okay, so let's talk again about what we've been up to. Let's also resolve this. Done. In terms of the actual stuff we've been working on, just to refresh everybody's memory, we've been working on this way to get an estimated size of a table on disk into SQL. This is something that we have in the DB console, so like the front end of the database. But we don't have it in SQL yet, so we've been sort of trying to work through adding it to SQL.
I have to narrow down the search.
Let's actually open up our remote machine so we can compile and stuff without having to be slowing down our streaming computer. But while that's going, I can talk a little bit about the project again. Yeah, so basically, I think the idea here is that this is just going to kind of call into some APIs. I should update that, huh? Commands, edit, project, adding a way to see on disk size of tables for Cockroach. How do I spell things? Via SQL. Right, so yeah, we've been working on this. I wanted to show off kind of what this looks like from the DB console, but I'll do that in a second. So basically, like, yeah, where we are at with this PR is that I got a little bit of a, you know, downer comment, not really a downer comment, but just a reality check from my colleague here. And basically what's going on is that there's a little bit of, like, I don't know, maybe architectural sadness maybe going on here which is that in order to figure out where the, or in order to sort of submit this request that we have made that allows you to estimate the amount of data that's in a range. Ranges again are the sort of data storage elements that are that comprise everything in CockroachDB. But for example, a table can have many ranges inside, and a table also can have indexes, and the indexes have ranges. So it's really like ranges are like the storage unit in a sense, from the perspective of SQL. And we have a way to get the estimated size of a range on disk. But the way to do it is a little bit awkward just from an architectural standpoint. The way the like server endpoint that allows you to get that information is sort of hidden in this slightly odd gRPC service that is used kind of, yeah, it's just sort of like it sort of lives in this admin interface. It's like we call it like the status server for some reason. I don't know. It's like just some gRPC service. And basically there's an issue here, which is that these gRPC services aren't getting, we don't, so okay. It actually kind of ties into something that I wanted to talk about later today in the stream, which is that we have this really exciting new feature at Cockroach Labs, which is the free forever tier of Cockroach Cloud. That's like, you guys should all know about this, and soon you will if you stick around in the stream. We're gonna demo it, we're gonna show it off. It's kind of the first time I'm using it too, so we'll try it out together basically. But the way that the free tier works under the hood is that we've actually made it so that CockroachDB can be multi-tenant. And multi-tenant is a word that means a database cluster or a service cluster of any kind that allows multiple users to use that service without knowing about each other. Like they're totally separated. And for Cockroach, that means all of the data for each of these tenants or users is sort of split into ranges that like just totally can't see each other. We've done a pretty good job of that. It's sort of secure in a way that's pretty interesting. And yeah, that stuff is kind of neat, but architecturally the way it works, and oh, you know, it's been so long since I've used my little iPad setup. Maybe I should just quickly get my little iPad set up because I think this is just such a good use case for it. Okay, give me like 2 seconds. I'm gonna draw out a little architectural diagram for you guys, and I think it's gonna be sick. Hold on. Okay, so let's see here. iPad's kind of out of batteries, so we're just gonna charge it up. Yeah, so basically with the multi-tenant stuff though, the point is that there's kind of like, we've separated things into KV pods on one side, so that's like the underlying storage data, and then SQL pods on the other side. All of this stuff lives in Kubernetes. The KV pods all talk to each other, which I'll draw in a second once this iPad like charges. It might take a little bit, I don't know. I feel like it's been just sitting on my bedside table for like a month or something, unused. But anyway, yeah, so the point is that like the SQL pods right now, they don't really talk to each other. They're sort of these stateless things that just serve SQL requests, talk to KV, but they kind of just, they don't like really have that much smarts or interconnectivity between them. And the trouble ultimately is that these like admin server, status server business things that I've been talking about, we didn't like activate them in a sense on the SQL pods because yeah, we just like haven't really figured out how to factor that out yet. So ultimately the problem is that this implementation that I used, I sort of redid it based on what we use on the DB console, which let me show you that actually real quick before we get any farther. So this is my remote machine here. And if I start up some node here, and then I make my little SSH tunnel here real quick, then I think if I go to localhost 8080, I should see a CockroachDB, right? And if I go to databases page, and click load stats. Then I get this replicated size here. So this is like what I've been looking for. Replicated size. Ultimately, this whole project is just like, let's expose this via SQL, which like, yeah, kind of works what I've got here, but there's, I guess, some issues with it that due to this like status server. So under the hood, what this is doing is it's like saying, when I click that load stats button over here, load stats for all tables, what that does is it issues a request against that gRPC endpoint that's like, you know, fetch me the estimates for all the tables. And let's jump in again and figure out what that does, just to refresh our memory here. Refreshing our memory, right? Let's search for PG total relation size. That's going to be the built-in function that actually does this stuff, right? And so what this does is it calls this thing called admin table approximate size. And what that does under the hood is calls something else. And it ultimately calls this thing on this status server business, which is what I've been kind of chatting about, calls something called table stats. And table stats under the hood. Right. Okay. So this is sort of where the rubber hits the road with what I've been talking about, right? You know how I've been talking about, like, there's a tenant version and a single tenant version. So the original version that we have of this whole stuff, it lives in this thing called status server. And eventually, I think this is the end of it, right? It's kind of like a long call path, you guys, not gonna lie. It's like a deep stack. Ultimately, it calls this method, and this method does something sort of nasty. It, like, basically, given a span of keys, which is what this thing is about, a start key and an end key. A start key and an end key. It will find all the ranges. Again, those ranges are how we split up data on the database. And for each of the ranges, it's going to issue a request to that range, to the leader of that range, actually. And that request will give you back something called approximate disk bytes, which is finally at the very end of the sort of call stack here, something that says approximation of the disk space in bytes used for all replicas of this table across the cluster, right? Okay, so very deep inside the code, but eventually we kind of get this estimate. We sum them up and we return. So the problem, coming back to the problem is that this implementation, this like status server thing is implemented twice, once by the normal thing and once by the multi-tenant thing. And the multi-tenant implementation has this error that says table stats unimplemented for tenant status server. Thank you, Sartak. The switches are in this keyboard are brown, cherry MX browns. So, okay, coming back to actually what the problem was in this review. Let's take a look at what they actually say, because I haven't really totally read it yet. Our multi-tenant architecture is going to be the way moving forward, even for dedicated on-prem users. And the SQL pods don't serve the admin UI status server. What you really need here is to access the admin server stats for span method from SQL. Yes, definitely. But this method has no reason to be on admin server. It doesn't even use admin server specifics. It could as well be implemented on server or you have a SQL.server. If you were to move it to the latter, you could access it safely from a SQL built in. And the changes to server admin to .go together would be minimal. Oh yeah, well this actually makes tons of sense. What a good suggestion. Alternatively, you could move it to a method of KB client, which makes it even easier. Asking somebody else, can you check whether my proposal to integrate stats for spans in the KB interface above is sound? Well, I think what I'll probably do is the first suggestion. Let's also figure out why this stuff is failing. The test that I added failed. That's fun. Expected PG table size to be something, found nothing. Okay, well we can come back to that one. That one seems pretty important to solve, right? This seems sort of like a flaky test, would be my guess, because I don't think I changed too much of this stuff. Okay, so why don't we just start with this first suggestion though? It seems like pretty reasonable. So basically, all right, so admin server. This thing. An admin server provides a RESTful HTTP API to administration of Cockroach clusters. So I guess this is the thing that the DB console calls. And the point is that somewhere in here we have this like span thing, right? Table details is not really the one that we want. It was table stats. Table stats is an endpoint that returns disk usage and replication statistics for the specified table. So the suggestion is basically to move this method to a different spot and then call the new method from this spot. So I think Raphael's suggestion was to say that I could say s.server.SQL server dot blah, and then I could have this method on this struct instead. Which basically seems fine. I think the thing that I need to check is like whether it's any more convenient to access I also have to move this thing, obviously. And this thing is called by a couple other spots. So there's like a few little things I guess I have to do here. And in terms of this method, does this do anything that's like particularly tricky? This server error thing we can implement at a higher level, I think. We have to have a KVDB, which seems easy. We have to have a server. Oh, wait, we have to have the stopper, which is easy. So this stopper thing is basically this abstraction that we use throughout the database to set up Go routines and asynchronous stuff that is also going to be properly shut down on database exit. So that's what this is for. But pretty much everything has access to one of these because it's so ubiquitous throughout the code base. So that seems fine. This seems a little bit suspicious. Dial node. I don't know if we're gonna have access to one of these, but I think we probably should. All right, I don't know. I mean, it seems like reasonable to. Okay, so seems reasonable that we could refactor this for sure. And then I guess the other question, right? So the other question was not only can we refactor it, but does it actually make anything easier if we do that? Because the one really irritating thing that I ran into when implementing this the first time was that from this code, so the built-in functions that we have in Cockroach, let me give you a little quick example here. Built-in function, wait a minute, bind address already in use. I guess I have, oh, I see. It's because I have this SSH tunnel going. I'll just do it from the remote machine. That seems fine. So let me make a screen session for this. Oh my God, speaking of screen sessions, did you guys hear that Screen had some sort of like horrific security issue recently? Screen security issue. Wait, is this not gonna like GNU Screen CVE? A buffer overflow was found in the way in GNU Screen before 4.8.0 treated the special character OSC 49. A specially crafted output or a special program could corrupt memory or crash. Other impact. It just seems kind of crazy because like Screen is such a screen, man. Like who's got bugs in that thing? The thing is like ancient. Even ancient. 9.8 critical, dude? That sounds really bad, right? Because 10 is the worst. What is GNU Screen? So GNU Screen is a program that lets you have more than one terminal in a single terminal, basically. So quick example is here in my terminal over here. Since I'm in a screen session, I have like these multiple sort of windows here in the same window. You see how I'm like tabbing between stuff? But this isn't done on my client or anything. This is all server side. And the way that I get between the screens is I hit a prefix, Control A, and then I hit N to get to the next window. And you can do all sorts of other cool stuff, like detach from a screen. So if I hit Control A and then G, now I'm no longer quote unquote attached to the screen. So all that stuff is gone. I can't switch to Windows anymore. But I can actually come back to the screen and like be back in that session again. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's exactly like tmux. I think screen is like, it existed before tmux. I'm just used to using it, I guess. I don't know. I never got used to tmux for whatever reason. I have no reason to not switch to tmux actually. I just like I also don't have a reason to switch to tmux. They basically like seem the same. I don't know. I'm not actually really sure why they made tmux. Like, anyway. Okay, point is, I wanted to connect to the cluster and give you an example of one of these built-ins. So if I could say, you can say like PG sleep, for example, and this is gonna make the database go to sleep for 3 seconds. That's an example of a simple built-in. And so this PG total relations size thing is also one of these built-ins. Why not open a new tab in terminal while you screen? It's basically because like I'm connected to a remote machine on this terminal here. And so I could detach from my screen session and even log out of my remote machine, but all of those things are still gonna be running. So you could sort of like, does that make sense? It's like a persistent session that can live somewhere else. So I can re-SSH back to the machine now and then like reattach, and then all will be golden, I think. Yeah. So that's cool stuff. You can, for example, like I only have one connection open to this machine, but I can have like many terminals. Whereas if I did it with tabs, I would have to have n connections. I guess it doesn't really matter. Anyway, okay, so point is for built-ins, SQL built-ins, you implement them in this kind of weird constrained environment is the way I think about it. We have this system for doing it. You can like run this little function, it makes one, and you provide a struct that defines like all the different attributes of it and stuff like that. So for example, you can make info about it. That's like a string that describes it. For some of these ones, we just say not usable because they're for compatibility. We should probably fix this, honestly. Like this is just sort of nasty because it is usable. I mean, it's very usable. We need to like probably fix this up at some point, but the volatility is about like, so imagine like a built-in function that adds two numbers together. That function will always return the same result if you pass the same arguments inside. So for example, sum of 1 and 2, that's always going to return 3. So you can imagine that the SQL optimizer can like do stuff with that information. It can cache it, or it can just run it once and not have to keep doing it on every row or something like that. So a stable function is defined as, well, there's like a few of these different definitions, and they're all a little bit, some of them are a little subtle, but point is like for our table is visible, I mean our total relation size, this is like the worst kind of level of volatility because it might change at any time. You can imagine you want to get the result of how big a table is, but of course the table could be changing in size over time, so you don't want to like hold on to that information. You always want to like be recalculating it for a given input. So that's why it's sort of a volatile function. Just read a blog post, what's up Lithium, about using SQLite in process on a single machine. SQLite in process on a single machine? I mean, that happens all the time, right? Like, I feel like Chrome, like any given instance of Google Chrome might have like 5 instances of SQLite inside or something like that. Maybe you meant something else. There was some really cool stuff actually. Ben Johnson, I think his name is, SQLite. He's got some really nifty looking thing. I haven't really explored this too much, but it's something called, what is it called? Oh yeah, Lightstream, right? Lightstream.io. Is this what you were talking about? Yeah, Lightstream. Yeah, exactly. So Lightstream is kind of crazy, right? It's like basically this thing that auto streams SQLite to S3, and like it's some kind of, I don't really know what it works. It's just some sort of like really easy replication solution that's like really cheap and pretty good, and like it might be really great for certain use cases. I haven't played around with it. I'd love to at some point, but it seems pretty cool. The man dropped an article on Go subreddit. Yeah, this guy's worth a follow on Twitter if you haven't followed him. He tweets a lot of good database stuff. Background music, it's like a DMCA free Spotify thing I found. Kind of the opposite of Cockroach. I don't know if it's exactly the opposite. It's just kind of like completely different. I don't think it's about consistency, right? I don't think that this thing could possibly be a consistent thing. Like, you probably can lose data, and I don't know if they have any way of having any distributedness here. Probably not, right? But replicating your database. Replicate on your database. You do some stuff, initialization, restoring, continuous replication. I think it's just like a quick and easy backup solution, basically. I don't know. Anyway, so point is, we were talking about volatility, we were talking about built-ins, we were talking about it's like a constrained environment. What I meant by that is just that, like, when the like amount of information about what's going on in the database that you have access to in this FN attribute of a built-in, that's kind of like the critical thing, right? I talked through info, volatility, types is like the input type, return type is the output type, but FN is like the actual closure that, you know, is the definition of what we run when you ask to run that built-in, right? And the point is that the inputs to this function are really pretty limited. All you get is the arguments to the function as a list of tree.datum. So for example, in our PG sleep example, you would get a list of a single datum that's an integer and it's 3. But you also get this thing called eval context. Eval context is this like big bucket of random crap, basically, that you have access to that's about, you know, what the server is doing, what other stuff is going on, who's the user, you know, like the start timestamp, I don't know, like all sorts of stuff. Kind of like a scary big object full of stuff. But the thing is that you really want to be able to get at certain parts of the database. And for certain reasons you can't. Like, you can't get to the SQL server from this directly because of like basically like dependency cycles in the code. So you sort of have this weird constrained environment. And the point is that it's a little bit irritating to set up calls into stuff like that admin table approximate size thing that I was talking through. So what you end up having to do is like, you can like add a new, we have this like sort of hacky circular dependency defeating interface thing that you can make, and then you can implement it on the planner, and then like from there you can get to the status server, and then that's kind of like, yeah, what I was talking through. But the point is that I think the Raphael's suggestion, which is really good, is that instead of implementing that thing in this kind of crazy way where we call the status server, what we should really be doing here is simply call into the SQL server that we have access to from the planner. So we would basically say like planner. I think we have a SQL server here, right? p.execcfg.sql. See, maybe we don't actually have access to that, which is pretty lame. Chad keyboard, but not using Vim, dude.
Computers hooked into over 1,000 data banks throughout the world.
Turn off a bunch of stuff to use big on the bike mono repo. I don't think that it's too large for Vim. Like, Vim could be fine. It's just like the amount of autocomplete and like IDE functionality and stuff that Golang gives you is just so good for big programs. I like Vim, but yeah, I don't know. I like to use a tool that helps me maximally, I guess. Okay, so why don't we have a SQL server for this thing again? It's like so irritating. Let's try to figure that out next. SQL server, right? Where does that thing live? And what even is it? Is it this? Con executor. No, we're not talking about this thing. Okay, well, the usual way that I figure this stuff out is I just like follow the chain of people owning each other's fields all the way back to the top, where we like inject all these dependencies at the very top of the server, and then I try to figure out like what gets created up there, and hopefully we will get some more clarity. new server. This sounds like an important method, you guys. Server.SQL server equals SQL.new server. And then this thing, right, is what we're basically talking about. But I think what's kind of crazy is it kind of feels like we don't have access to this thing in the right spot. Back to America, M1 Mac, benchmark Cockroach. Dude, speaking of benchmarking databases, did you guys see that post from, who was it? Who was it? It was like benchmarking Postgres on a giant crazy server. No, that's not going to be precise enough. It was this, Mark Callahan DB. Oh yeah. Do you guys know about this guy? Tanel Poder.
Data banks throughout the world.
This is a very cool guy. And achieving 11 million IOPS and 66 gigabytes per second IO on a single Threadripper workstation, dude. It's like, what? What? Is there a Docker version that can run an M1 yet? No, we haven't figured that out yet. We really need to get moving on that, honestly. It would be great if somebody who had an M1. The problem is that nobody at Cockroach has an M1 computer, so we just like haven't really gotten the, I don't know, the gumption up to start messing with this stuff. But we really ought to. I don't own an M1 machine. No, I do not. Define null. Do you want to send me one? I'll take it. If any of you sends me an M1, I promise to spend some time trying to get Cockroach to compile on it. How about that? So who's got access to this thing? $600 for a Mac Mini? Your company sauced so many M1 machines at you? What does that even mean? Okay, so the truth is that could still be uploaded on a server, even sealed on server. I accidentally triple filled a ticket for an M1 machine, so you have 3 now. What, dude? What? I don't know if you want to leak your company information, but that sounds sick. Everybody should go work at Define Null's company, and you can just get like free M1 machines, just cause, right? It sounds amazing. So what?
Databanks.
Thanks for the follows, guys. Haploid, Curlon, Jordies, and Florian. I mean, basically, this is just a little awkward because this exec CFG doesn't have a reference to it on its own server, basically. I think the trouble is that this thing is used to like set up the server itself, right? Presumably. So yeah, it's like this thing has a reference to this thing, and this thing does not have a reference to this thing because this is the input to making one of these. So that kind of makes sense. A little annoying, but maybe that's fine. Maybe we can actually just like link it in when we make this planner. Maybe that would be the right thing to do. I wonder if that like violates some hidden principle that I don't know about, but I don't think so. It seems fine, actually. What's up, Rohanser? It's actually not even new. It's old. I was talking earlier on the stream. I pulled it out from its archive because I finally was you know, asked nicely enough by my girlfriend to stop using the super clicky mega keyboard. And this one's a little bit quieter. They were actually yeah, Kyle Sage, which I guess are super loud. The height of each key. Well, you can change that, right? It's all different. You can get low profile ones if you want. Okay, so why don't we just like add a reference to the server to this thing, right? Is that fine? Server, SQL server. Oh wait, what am I doing? SQL server, right? Yeah. So then when we actually inject this thing into our new planner, or is this going to cause problems? I don't know if this is going to cause problems. So there's a way to like find usages of this thing, right? What's the, I forget what the shortcut is for that. Option F7, obviously. Okay, so yeah, one problem switching to this, I've like lost a little bit of my muscle memory for like random shortcuts, but that's just life. So struct initialization. This is one really cool thing about Golang, you guys, is that when you search for find usages, you can get like different types of usages, right? I can find where this thing is a receiver. This is kind of small font, so I don't know if you can see, but 307 usages as a receiver, 215 as a parameter, and then only 6 is a struct initialization, which is what I was looking for. And this is kind of the one we're looking for, right? Where we're making a fresh con executor. So here I think we could populate the con executor with this server thing, which is kind of what we're looking for. Molson, thank you for the follow. Has the iPad risen from that? That's a great question. No, not yet. You see this little sad looking battery? I need to like plug it into an actual charger. I feel like this is just like USB charging or something. So it's like not really happy yet. We'll get there. Yeah. Okay, so what we'll do here, I don't know. It feels a little wrong to do this like hookup stuff, but like I think it's gonna be fine. Wait. Oh, so the con executor already has it. It's just the planner that doesn't. Does the planner have its own con executor? I guess not. Would that be the better thing to do? Is it wrong to give the planner the con executor? It feels a little dirty. It feels like it has potential to like make people act really nastily, you know what I mean? Like pulling too many reach arounds. But I don't know. So like for now we can say like we can get our executor, and then we can say server, and then we can say, you know, then we can basically say our table stats here or whatever. I feel like this is the potential way to do it. This is the potential way to do it. So let's go with this, and somebody can yell at me if it's not good, I guess. Okay, so where do we make our planner? It's over here. And what we're gonna also say executor. Oh wait, but we haven't initialized it yet. Oh God. Okay, so this is irritating, huh? I'm going back to my original idea, which is that the planner will have its server, not its executor. So we can say SQL server. And then over here we can say like this. Okay, so that's cool, but we need to definitely make sure that we've checked out all of the other planner creations. And this is a little bit suspicious, right? Because this copy thing, the copy machine, always a fun titled thing. I think this is actually fine. We can add a server to the input here. SQL server. We can say All right, and then, okay, so that's one. Copy file upload. Is this important? What is this? I don't really know what these things are doing, to be honest. They're kind of new to me. Oh, but it's in the exact same spot, so we can just, same idea, stick the new argument. X.server, x.server. And then, to be honest, we don't even need to pass in the CFG, right? We can just replace this CFG like so, and this can say, now that I think about it, like we don't even, well, whatever. I'll just, I don't want to get too crazy with this refactor in case people don't like the idea of it. But you could conceivably just pass only the SQL server to the planner and not its configuration, and people could get at the configuration via the SQL server. Who likes plumbing? Does anybody like plumbing here? I'm a big plumber. It's one of my favorite things. I guess this needs to be address of, huh? Wait, what? No, not address of. Why is it unhappy though? It's because I didn't change this argument yet. So this is going to be the SQL server. What do you guys think? Viewers, do you think that I should have a chat on screen? I haven't done that. It's something that I've been thinking about. Because like right now, it's a little awkward because in the YouTube videos that I make out of these, like you can't see the chat. On the other hand, it could be distracting. I don't know. What do you guys think? SQL server. Small chat window. On-screen chat if you're full screening. Ooh, yeah, that's a good point. Chat isn't spammy enough to be distraction. Few lines between the camera and your keyboard cam. Yeah, that seems like a good spot for it, right? I used to have a source for it. Do I still have it installed? I could just add it right now. Chat on forehead. How does this work again? It's like a browser source. I think I'd have to reinstall it. I just want to do this real quick just because I've been thinking about it and not like actualizing my life here. Let's see. Go to dashboard. I do chat box. Where's this? All widgets. Chat box. All right, so if I do this, and then I do add browser source, right? Chat box.
Databanks.
Okay, so theoretically I have a chat box here. Y'all want to say something? Feels like it's not working, huh? Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's working quite yet. Oh wait, it is. I think it is working. It's just really tiny. So I need to figure out how to improve. Maybe like this. Is it a little too small? I don't know how this is gonna work because I'm not sure like how it's gonna scale or anything. Oh, is it? Okay. how does one do this exactly? Oh, font size 12px. Okay, improve to 28px. How about save settings? This is gonna take a while. I feel like, okay, I'm just gonna make a really dumb and basic version of this and then like maybe fix it up later. All right. God, this is so bad. This is so bad. 18 pixels, you think? Okay, we're gonna go down to 18 pixels. Save settings. I wish it would like repopulate it with some of what you guys are saying, you know? Because right now it just clears it completely. Set transform. Perfect. The thing that I don't understand is like how long XY it's gonna go, you know? I mean like left and right. Because now it's gonna like go past my face in a second. I need to fix that. I'll just crop that downwards. All right, let's just leave it like this for now. Okay, cool. Thanks for bearing with me. See how that works. It'll get cut off a little bit, but who cares? Okay, too large. Okay, this is just gonna be life now for this stream, I think, because I don't want to keep messing with it. All right, now this is like technology, you know? This is like new technology on the stream. It's exciting stuff. Okay, so coming back to life here on the database, what we're doing, new keyboard, it's kind of like an old keyboard revived. What we're doing here is just making sure that we are properly repopulating this planner with the right things. So here in this internal version, hopefully we'll have a server to populate ourselves with, right? This one seems like a little bit suspect, to be honest. This one seems like the most suspect, I'd say, because I'm just not sure that we're always gonna have access to the right stuff out here. Well, here we will. What about here? Here we have a schema changer. This one seems very suspect, like we're not gonna have a server available from this schema changer, right? This is like a plumbing nightmare, you guys. A true plumbing nightmare. All we have is this executor config. It really feels like what we should actually do is just go back to our original plan of like doing this disturbing reach around idea where we put the SQL server back into the executor config that we used to spawn it, right? I feel like that's just going to be a better thing because everybody already has the executor config. I can back out some of these changes. I think I'm gonna do that. Really exciting stuff here. Really deeply exciting stuff. Okay, so right, where do we make? It's in this thing, right? New SQL server. Basically, yeah. I mean, it's actually not so bad. All we do is we just say cfg dot, we can just say SQL server is equal to this thing, right? Seems like totally fine. So here we're gonna put, we'll put it where?
Computers hooked into over 1,000 data
SQL
banks
Server
throughout the world.
is a pointer to the server that this config ultimately created. It's only set to non-nil once we've actually used this configuration to make a new SQL Server. Seems suspicious, right? It feels like a really nasty, disgusting anti-pattern, but like I think it's actually maybe fine. So let's make sure that we're always going to be instantiating this as well. So we'll go back into our struct initialization search mode, and we'll search and we'll find that there's really just one place that this is. That's actually kind of weird. I thought oh yeah, I guess it's not actually the struct initialization that we care about. It's like what ultimately gets created from the struct, right? So we've changed that main spot, and I guess this is another spot where we make one of these configurations. Wait, I'm actually a little confused. New SQL Server. What was I just changing then? Confused. Wait. I mean, this seems like good then. So then what was I? What's the difference between this and what's the difference between this new SQL Server thing that says new SQL Server and the other one? That is like, oh. Okay. This is confusing, guys. There's something called server.SQL Server, and there's also something called SQL.Server. Oh no. That is disturbing, to say the very least. Who has a reference to this one? This always like, this is bad. So confusing. This one is not referenced by anything. It's only referenced by the very outside. So I still think I'm pretty convinced that I'm doing the right thing here. Right? Yeah, it seems fine. SQL Server Microsoft? Yeah, exactly. Not that kind of SQL Server. Okay, so I still think that this should be probably fine. So let's actually, right, what we want to do is actually look for usages of this thing, check to see who initializes it, and make sure that we're always initializing it in the right way. Struct initialization just one spot, so we're doing it right, and we're good to go. Okay, we're doing good. I feel us making slow but steady progress in the right direction. So over here, what we're gonna say is p.execconfig.sqlserver.tablestats, like this. Okay, this is what we want. And now we just have to move this implementation to the right spot, and then I think we'll be really good and feeling ready to move on to other things. So we can get rid of this, right? We can get rid of this, thank God. This was getting really disgusting. I'm really glad that we're not doing that anymore. So let's go to copy.go, which is what we edited, and get rid of the stuff that we added, right? We don't need this. Don't need this change. Another really nice feature of Golang is this like little, it kind of shows you your diffs. I'm sure other editors do this too. I just like this, the way this is done. It's like shows you your diffs and you can like edit them or delete them, which is kind of cool. Here's a little removal diff that you can undo if you feel like it, right? And then we had another change to copy file upload, which we can back out basically. I could also do this via Git, but I don't know. Sometimes it just feels convenient to do it via the IDE. Get rid of these ones as well. All right, is that basically? I think so. So let's now go ahead and migrate the implementation of table stats.
The data bank's too big. I have to narrow down the
So
search.
right, ultimately it's actually migrating
By
the
guessing.
implementation of table stats on this underlying server thing. So I think what we should start by doing is just copying this implementation into our new spot, which will be where? It's not this. It's not this either. It's actually in this other con executor file, right? Yeah, where are things implemented on this giant server method exactly, or struct? All in con executor? It feels kind of wrong. Why don't we make like could make a new file for it. I thought we already actually did make a new file for this. Let's see what we had in our diff already. I guess we can do git show stat for this. We had something called package tenant status. I thought we made a new, oh, package SQL size stats.go. Okay, so I think we can put it in there. Size stats, right? Aha. So basically we can actually implement it right in this method, right? Because, or in this file, which is kind of nice actually. So we can say s server, and it's going to be called table stats, right? And we can kind of start going through some of these missing functions and stuff like that. Just jam my first issue into Google Wire. Don't use Google Wire. It's a horrible dependency injection solution. Is that a Java thing? How come? I thought Google also made Juice. How come? What's the difference between Juice and Google Wire? Oh, or is Google Wire actually C++ or something like that? I don't know. So what is annotate context? So this is actually going to take a context, and a table stats request, right? Oh, Google Wire's in Go. It doesn't work for circular dependencies it can't generate. Google Juice is in Java, but it's for Java 6? Wait, they didn't... Wait. Google Wire Go? Oh my god, they have some kind of crazy thing for Go for dependency injection now? This seems disturbing. It seems potentially like maybe not the best thing to do. Version 0.3, it's in beta and considered feature complete. How about that, no? Spring Boot has auto-wired. Dependency injection in Go, just pass in the darn pointer. All right, so what does require admin user do? This seems important. An admin privilege checker. So this thing is embedded in various spots, I guess. It lives in it. This thing is actually, huh. Do we embed this thing anywhere else? It's in a status server. And how do we construct this? This sort of seems like something that we could construct anywhere at any time, right? So we could actually just add one to admin server, new admin server. Okay, so you can make one actually by, you just need an internal executor, which we do have over here. So theoretically we could say like priv checker is equal to, I think we could do it more efficiently by like leaving it in this server, but for now. You like the genius programmer? I don't know. Yeah, I didn't make this. Do you get it? Like I actually uploaded this and I was like, wait a minute, is it allowed to have something that you didn't create? I probably need to figure out what the deal is with that actually, because I didn't make it and I feel like it might be a little bit sus to have a thing that you don't own on your Twitch emotes. I need to figure out the deal with that. So don't report me, guys. I don't know. It's from something called Abstruse Goose, I think, right? Genius programmer. No. What is this thing from? It's not from that. I forget actually where it came from. It's like one of these. I don't know where it came from. I think it's from that comic. It's a pretty funny comic. All right, anyway, so where does this admin, this admin privilege checker though, it probably lives like in a different package, which is a pretty annoying, right? Package server. Yeah. This is irritating. Maybe what I should actually do is move this whole admin privilege checker thing into the SQL package. That might be something a little bit easier because then I can actually access it. Why don't I do that? Abstruse Goose 432. Oh yeah, this one is my favorite. I used to have this posted on my desk at my last job because I really like it so much. Where did I find that Genius Programmer comic? It's like a little bit sarcastic, right? The idea is that like his little face. It's just so good. I don't know where I got it from. It's like gotta be it from this thing somewhere, right? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Somebody finds it, let me know. Okay, so I'm gonna move this privilege checker thing into the SQL package, I think, and then export it. I think I can just do this with a move, right? So I'm gonna. Wait, what? This looks weird. Wait, what? I'm confused. Is this thing like... I think it's not that complicated. I don't know why that my little like move machine isn't like working for me. Maybe maybe it's because it's not exported. My muscle memory for this keyboard is like so screwed up right now. How do I? There we go. Okay, admin privilege checker. So I export this, and then I move it. Is that gonna work? There we go. Okay, so admin privilege checker is gonna move, and all of these little guys are gonna move as well. Require admin user, get user enroll, has admin role, like all this stuff is gonna move, and I'm gonna put it into package SQL into a new file called privilege checker to package SQL. Okay, we'll just continue with that. Okay, so where is this thing used from? This is used all over the place. That is pretty irritating. Emotes are subject to DMCA, but I don't know if the authors were licensed freely. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I need to clear that up. It's very obvious. So user from context, I guess. I suppose I could move this also from into the SQL package. That would be one way to fix this problem. So I will try to do that. Move to package SQL to file privilege checker, package SQL. And then we can export it, I think. Oh, the web session user key string. Okay, that's at least only living in. Guys, this is it's getting to be a bit of a pain. It's starting to hurt me. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Okay, this is actually really confusing. So I think I need to, okay. This is I'm starting to understand what's going on here, and it's starting to scare me a little bit. So basically what's going on here is that this user from context thing is actually specifically for stuff that's coming in via our REST API. Because what's happening is that I guess we can extract some kind of like gRPC metadata about people who call REST API functions or something. I don't know, but it's from this context, and this stuff will not exist in ordinary calls to stuff. Like for example, in SQL, when we call our new size checker function, it's not going to have any kind of special embedded username stuff inside of. Yeah, you see this? If the incoming, I guess we've checked it. If the incoming context has metadata but no attached web session user, is a gRPC internal SQL connection which has root in the cluster. The thing is that, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, we need to figure out how to pass this information. I think presumably what we should actually do here is inside of our new implementation, this get user enroll thing, I think, needs to probably get as input. We should probably pass in the user from context here. So we'll say username. We'll just pass in the username. That seems basically fine. So get user enroll. I don't know. Hold on a minute. Wait, is this actually telling me that like ultimately if I were to call into this new thing that I'm implementing in size stats, this thing actually needs to be a privileged user, meaning that if I were to call my PG size of thing, that like that would have to be an admin user? I almost feel like this thing should actually just do it, and you're sort of required, since this is like a utility function, it kind of feels like maybe we should just not do these checks inside of this method and ask the people who are calling into it to do the checks themselves. I actually don't think that that's like particularly unreasonable, and it makes things a little bit easier. So I'm gonna do that for now, I guess. Because this is starting to feel like a really giant refactor that is like disturbingly big. Out of curiosity, like back in this new method that we're implementing that's all red, do I have any other issues with S? I have this query table ID thing. What is that
The data
doing?
bank's too
Who
big.
uses it?
I have to narrow down the search. How are you gonna do that?
Queries for the ID
By
of the
guessing.
table, give a name and database. This is just doing select red class. So we can, yeah, this is not a big deal. I think I'm gonna, yeah, I'll probably just continue with this plan to undo the changes that I did to this privilege checker thing. Meaning putting this back into, uh-oh. I feel like I'm too deep. I've like done too many like weird transformations and like the ID isn't gonna let me undo them all. Okay, so let's go back to Git here and we can do it that way. Git status. So we can, let's just delete this. We don't care about it. I guess we have to git checkout one. Is that how we get rid of it? Git. That always confused me. Okay, so then if we look at the diffs to 1, is this where we deleted everything from? Yeah, so let's just basically roll back this whole change, right? I think we can actually, we'll do a little git reset dash p here. Uh-oh, what did I do? Get reset dash p dot package, maybe? How do I, does it not let me do that? Oh, I guess it would be git checkout dash p. It's confusing why sometimes it's checkout, like with like a new file, you're supposed to do reset. I don't know, it's like really annoying. So we're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna get rid of this. Keep that, keep that, keep that, keep that, keep that. All right, all right. Okay, so we're back in a more sane state here. And basically what we're gonna do is in our, this thing no longer exists, in our size stats, we're going to just get rid of our privilege checks, which seems a little bit sus, but I'm fairly sure that it's actually fine. This is gonna be a server pb.tablestats request. Now, what about get fully qualified table name? This is used by what? Table details. This is used by a few things. Could we move this thing safely to SQL? This one looks like it has no dependencies, so it looks really easy to move. So I will do that. Yo, Matt, what is up? How's it going? Happy Friday to you too, my friend. What was I gonna, I had something I wanted to tell you, but I'm kind of forgetting what it is. Yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit in my intro, and then I kind of forgot about it, is that we've been doing something super fun, which is that I've convinced a bunch of other people at work to stream to the CockroachDB channel, which has been super fun. So we're getting sort of like a variety stream kind of thing going. You got like people doing the watch me work thing, kind of like this. We're gonna do some interviews. We're gonna talk about CockroachDB stuff, random serverless stuff, like random cloud native stuff probably. That's gonna come soon. And today we had some people playing this game called Grid Critters, which is I guess it's like something about learning CSS grid stuff, which is like, seems really important, and I don't know anything about it, but it was really, really fun because we had like 4 people hanging out on the stream, chatting, like playing this game together, learning some CSS, like, and they had some little characters that they were playing and stuff. Oh my God, it was awesome. I was really like, I was feeling pretty happy about that, just because it's like, I don't know, it's just so, it's just, there's some joy that comes with sharing things with the world. I think it puts a certain feeling into you that feels good, and hopefully like people can also get some good stuff out of it. So feeling pretty happy about that. And what I wanted to say is that there's this product called Restream.io, which is actually super sick because it makes it super trivial to get like interview style streams or like simple streams with just a desktop and some people chatting on it on the stream. And you don't have to set up a hangout, you don't have to set a call, you just send them a guest link. They're gonna join. You can like bring them onto the stage and put them off the stage and stuff like that. And it's basically super sick. So big props to the Restream people. I think it's a great product that people should know about for doing, streams of all sorts, I think. So let's just move this guy into SQL. Honestly, this thing could live in like, this thing could live in parser.
The data bank's too big. I have to narrow down the search.
Thanks for the
How
follow,
are you gonna do
Bobby
that?
Noria.
By guessing.
And also for Hiki Artemis. All the other folks who followed,
The data
thanks a
bank's
lot,
too big.
guys.
I have to narrow down the search. How are you gonna do that? By guessing.
So we can move this one to the parser package. SQL parser. I don't know what file it should go. I need to put it somewhere, huh? What would be a good file to put this in exactly? Guess we could stick it just in this. Could just call it func get. Let's just put it in parse.go. Is the point, right? So first we're gonna rename it. This is like a weird thing. I don't know. You have to like, man, my muscle memory for these little refactors is like super broken because of the little change in keyboard layout. So I'm mousing. It's so sad. I feel like a scrub. Okay, so we're gonna move get fully table blah blah blah. We're gonna put this into package SQL parser, file parse.go, package parser. Okay, so now theoretically I think that all will be well, and over here in our new size stats file we can say parser.get fully qualified table name. What's up, secret myth? And over here what we need to be returning is probably the same thing. uint64 error, right? Back from shoveling, closer to 10 inches of snow now. Oh my gosh, wow. In Toronto, that is awesome. So here we're gonna return 0. Now here is our query table ID thing. This thing we're just gonna return error. This we can return 0. Now generate table span. What is that about?
Computers hooked into over 1,000 data banks.
Are other
throughout
people
the world.
using that, or is that just for us? Yeah, it's this. Now this is suspicious. So what's SQL Codex about, you guys? Let's talk about that for a second. Because hopefully we're still gonna do some free tier demonstration a little bit here. It's coming soon. But what is this about when we have generate table span doing something with a to-do SQL Codex? So basically, what's going on here is that to set up multi-tenancy in the cluster, what we do is we put another prefix before all the keys. I think on the stream, a few times I've talked about like wow, this iPad's still not like turning on. That's really weird. Maybe it's like just like too dead, I feel like I need to plug it into the actual charger, not just USB. Oh well. Anyway, so yeah, I've talked about the key format, right? Like normally in the keys we have like something like there's going to be, it starts with a table ID, so like 1, and then there's going to be an index ID like 2 or something, and then we're going to have, the key. So, if we had a create table, why don't I just show it on an example here? So if I said create table A primary key, I've done this a million times in the stream, so sorry if you're bored. Insert into a values 1, 2. And then I can turn on this tracing thing. So I can say set auto trace equals on KB. And then if I say select star from A where A is equal to 1, what actually happens here is that we're gonna show what the keys actually look like. You know how Cockroach is like a SQL system, but it's sort of, we talk about KV under the hood. And the reason for that is that we translate all SQL into these KVs in a sort of very standard way. And then that's how we can do the translation back and forth. So for example, this table A is actually table 53, and the primary index for table 53 is actually named 1. And this is something else like the column family ID. And then the 2 is stored in the value. So this is sort of what it looks like in a human readable way. Anyway, so what is tenant about, multi-tenant? The truth about multi-tenancy is that we actually secretly add another kind of value before these keys. And what you put, I guess is maybe obvious, but if I had, you know, table 1 index 2 key hello, and it points to world, what this is actually going to be in a multi-tenant environment is it's also going to have a tenant ID up front. And this is a way to, segment your data into multiple tenants. The thing is that, so this SQL codec stuff is actually about how to encode and decode tenant-specific data. And I think the fact that we have to-do SQL codec here is actually bad. And I think that it means, I think it just means that something is a little bit suspicious. So what is the deal with that exactly is a question that I might have for everybody. What was the file that I was looking at? It was generate table span or something? So generate table span, it generates a table's key span. Okay, and when we actually use it, we're just passing a table ID. So I feel like what this is telling me is that this doesn't work in a multi-tenant environment, which actually makes sense given all the things that I know about what does not work in the multi-tenant free tier right now. And I guess the answer is that you can't get stuff like table details because you don't have the codec, you don't have the tenant ID. So that's fine, and it's an easy thing for us to fix while we're doing this refactor. All we have to do is, instead of having the to-do SQL codec, we should already have a codec that's plugged in everywhere in this CFG. We should have a cfg.codec, and indeed we do. And we can just say cfg.codec.table prefix, and this is going to be our table start key. And so that's actually pretty sweet because our span is now just going to be like this, and that way we're actually fixing something for multi-tenancy at the same time as fixing something else for multi-tenancy. So it's sort of, it's cascading out, and it's, I guess it's not so complicated what I'm doing, but it's also having some nice side effects here. That being said, we still need to figure out this table ID business, and the point of that is what exactly? This table stats request, it looks like it takes in, I see, it takes in a database in a table, and we need to turn it into an ID. And so query table ID is this thing that we were playing with over here. Honestly, I think we should probably just, I don't think it's worth like trying to keep this really factored nicely. Well, I mean, to be honest, it's a little bit suspicious that we're doing it this way at all, because we should be able to use our, like, you know, schema leases and everything. So to get to that, we should be able to, like, since we're down in here in SQL land, shouldn't we be able to, like, shouldn't we be able to get at some kind of catalog thing around here that makes this all a lot easier? Or am I wrong about that? We should be able to have some kind of, like, just forget where it all lives is the thing. It's in the planner, right? So to get to a planner, we should be able to do, it might not really be that possible, honestly. So maybe the easiest thing is to just continue to do this sort of thing where we reach around and ask SQL. I don't know, this could be more efficient probably. let's just copy this for now, rather than having to refactor it, because I think it's probably pointless. It's probably going to go away when somebody tells me a better way to do all this. So from here, we can just say s dot internal executor, right? No, s dot. What? Oh my God. It's dizzying, the amount of crap that lives on all of these, injected configs and servers and everything. Okay, so right, we need to get a username. And that is a little bit unfortunate because I don't think we have that in here. I think we do need to probably pass one in. And that's kind of what we were talking about before. We have a username from the web API in certain cases, but here we're not gonna have one. So we're just gonna pass one in like this. And I guess we also have to, do we have to pass in a database? Because we don't have any context about the connection. This is just, it's very top level. So I guess we also have to pass in a database. Feels a little bit suspicious. I want to say it's a little bit suspicious. This feels mildly suspicious indeed, but we
have to
can
narrow down the search. How are you going to do that?
security.sql username. Okay, fine. Security.sql username. I don't know what that's about at all, actually. But it seems good. A security.sql username is a username valid inside of SQL. Okay, so it's some type aware stuff that makes sure that you don't do any janky stuff with non-valid usernames, and maybe it sanitizes them too. That's cool. Glad that exists. Peter A. Maldes, thank you for the follow. And thanks Secret Myth as well. So here we're going to pass in our table name here, right? If we get an error, we're just going to return 0 in our error. Okay, so then we can get rid of this stuff. So our table ID is going to be like this. Then we make our star key, we have our span, and then finally we get to do this stats for span thing. And this is another thing that we've got to figure out how to port over from the old status admin server thing. Stats for span. Unfortunately, a bunch of people do call it. Okay, so I think obviously the point here is that we've got to make sure to keep this guy nicely factored because it is just pretty complicated. So we definitely don't want to start copying this code. I think the other code was fine to copy for reasons, but here it's really pretty important to make sure that we properly fact this. So I think what we're going to do is again, we'll start by renaming this to stats for span. Then we're going to move it into what exactly? It's going to move it to size stats, right? So package SQL size stats, package SQL, right? Let's see how this works out. Okay, and then of course this is not going to be implemented on status server anymore. It's just going to be implemented on server. And then here, this is where the people above us can be dealing with this server error business, so that's fine. Here, we just need to get at our KV database, which should be fine. We should have one available in our cfg.db, right? So that's all good. We don't need to worry about server error here. We don't need to worry about server error here. 81 viewers. Yeah, we're doing pretty good today, guys. We got a good audience. Thanks all for tuning in and watching. Having fun. I hope you are too. If you have any questions, by the way, love answering questions, so drop them in the chat. Database questions, CockroachDB questions, mustache questions, anything really. So here we can get our stopper out. I think it's in the CFG, right? It's kind of like a new old keyboard. I've resurrected it from the closet to avoid irritating my girlfriend with my loud keyboard. How do I get this our stopper here? I thought that is something that lives in the CFG. I guess it doesn't. It lives in this disk SQL server. This is very sus. So where do we populate this thing exactly? CFG.stopper, and this goes into lease manager, GC. Okay, it just goes into a bunch of places and it just happens not to really go anywhere else. That's actually like fine. It doesn't matter. Okay, so then, oh my God, the status server though, this is messed up. See, this is what we've got to figure out here. It's vintage, yes, exactly. Exactly true. So we've got to figure out this situation. Span stats request is actually implemented on what is this implemented on? Status server. Okay, wait, actually I'm confused. Let's come back to our pull request review here. I think we do actually have a status server sort of situation going on in the KV node. So I think it actually should be fun. How do you represent data on disk? So we use this, we use something called CockroachDB Pebble for this. But Pebble is not a B-tree storage engine. It's a LSM tree storage engine. LSM trees are like, it stands for log structured merge tree. And so that's the technology that underlies things like LevelDB, RocksDB, and Pebble. It's a pretty interesting storage system that's very fascinating to learn about. The idea is it's kind of got
the data bank's too big. I have to narrow down the search.
Big chunks of immutable
by
data
guessing.
that are arranged in a tree, and as they age, they merge into bigger chunks. So at the top of the tree, you have like data that's changing pretty frequently, but the chunks are kind of small, and as they change more frequently, as they sit there aging, they sort of get merged into these lower, bigger chunks that are sort of changing less frequently. I don't know, it's a whole thing. It's pretty interesting. I would say it's worth learning about if you're interested in storage engine technology stuff. Pebble is kind of this Go re-implementation that we made for RocksDB. We were kind of thinking that it was painful to have to keep calling into C++, which is what RocksDB is written in, to get all of our storage engine accesses. So we re-implemented it in Go. Yeah, it's definitely really cool stuff. I wonder if there's like there's got to be like a visualizer somewhere. Rift and XM Fortunato, thank you for the follows. Yeah, Cassandra is another, it uses LevelDB. Where is this does not have a good diagram. So I guess this is kind of trying to show that, yeah, one important thing is that all of the data in each of the chunks are sorted. That's kind of an important component of how it all works. But this is kind of trying to show that level 0 sort of held in memory. They eventually get merged into level 1, and these get merged into level 2. And in reality, there's more like 6 or 7 levels of these things. But yeah, it's cool stuff. What's up, undefined behavior? On disk format for CockroachDB. It's kind of like It's more like the undist format or data structure that Pebble uses, which is our storage engine. Have you guys checked out dgraph, Badger, Ristretto? Yeah, we were just actually talking about that because the same guy, Ben Johnson, right? Didn't he also write dgraph, or am I making that up? No, wait, maybe I did make that up. Lightstream. What? I thought he did something with... Oh, he made BoltDB. Okay, so it's actually different. I got confused. But yeah, people ask about Badger for CockroachDB. But the thing is that we did, yeah, check this out. We did like evaluate this a couple times, but yeah, like Alex said back in 2017, there are a bunch of features that RocksDB has and Pebble has now that Badger didn't have, and we kind of looked at it and sort of decided that it just wasn't really going to work out. Pretty important also that like as a database you control and understand your own storage engine, which is part of why we like wrote Pebble, rather than relying on another storage engine like RocksDB that takes a long time to get upstream patches into or has issues or whatever. It's like not optimized for the thing. So yeah. Any progress on this? No. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so to get these span stats, right? Is this even something that we can do? So if we have our server and we have our CFG, do we have a status server? We have this SQL status server, which is different, right? Subset of the status service is available when not running
Too big.
as a
I have to
system
narrow down
tenant,
the search.
which doesn't sound very
Couldn't
good.
do that.
Ruby Knight, thank
I
you for the
guess-
follow. I thought that it would be possible to get at this particular gRPC service on the KV nodes in our thing that we still can't show off because our iPad just isn't charging. How do we fix this, you guys? What if I like, you've been reading on databases, increasingly tempted to write a toy one? You absolutely should. You're gonna learn so much if you try to do that. It's gonna be incredible. You're gonna feel so good afterwards. I'm just gonna quickly get like a charger that can actually charge this thing so we can move on with this situation. So yeah, give me one quick second here.
Data banks.
Oops, forgot to turn off my mic. But anyway, hello, I'm back. Okay, so hopefully this thing will charge when it's plugged into an actual charger, right? That'd be the hope. That'd be the hope. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, toy databases. I mean, it's a pretty big undertaking. You probably want to concentrate on like one particular part of databases because databases, pretty big topic. Maybe you're talking about like a storage engine. I think that's an interesting thing to start playing around with. Or you're talking about a query engine, also an interesting place to get started with. You kind of got to pick a particular thing to play with, I think. But you should do it. 1000% do it. All of it? Nice, dude. Yeah, do it. Maybe you'll make a new database startup at the end. That would be pretty awesome. So yeah, like what do we do here exactly? What do we do here? Because the truth is that like maybe this is why he was suggesting that we put it on KV client, which I suppose we could. Like I suppose what we could do here is implement this thing. So this, let's take a look at this. This span stats actually is implemented, I think, in a protobuf, right? So status.proto. And this protobuf, what is the most not interesting part of databases? I don't know. I don't know. so there should be a service somewhere, right? Status. And down here we have like, should have some kind of like span stats, right? So span stats. Parsing SQL. I mean, parsing SQL is pretty interesting, I think. It's like, it's really hard. So if it's something hard, it kind of means it's got to be interesting in a certain sense, right? Or maybe not. Now, the truth is I just don't understand whether the KV nodes, they probably don't. Okay. They definitely don't. And the reason that they don't is probably just that like, this thing isn't bucketed by tenant, so it's like not really legal. Like this thing needs to have a tenant prefix or else it wouldn't be secure, I think. Does garbage collection in Go ever become an issue in CockroachDB? Yes, it definitely does. That's a big problem that we've been struggling sort of with. I wouldn't say struggling necessarily, but like fighting over the years for sure. We've gotten better and better at it. Basically, it's like for things that end up using a lot of data, that's sort of obviously like where garbage collection might have an issue unless you have like your allocator pattern sort of set up nicely. So the big one that we have trouble with, I think, is in the SQL execution engine, because when we used to like the original implementation of SQL in Cockroach, it sort of had like, you can imagine every like cell in a SQL table was an object. And so if you imagined like, you know, doing a giant full table scan over millions and millions of rows, that's like just churns a whole lot of allocations, right? It's like making a new thing, using it, and then throwing it out, just like in a big hot loop. So that's really bad. We fixed that kind of by like changing to this vectorized execution engine thing, which stores data in columns and it's sort of more efficient memory wise, but it still has a problem, which is that the column memory actually gets asked, you know, it sort of gets plucked directly from the Go garbage collector. And so it's a lot less of a problem, but it's still a pretty big problem. Ideally, what we would do is have a big pool, just like the storage engine does. Like we were talking about storage engines. In the storage engine, they sort of have their own allocator that at the start of the program, it requests a big arena of memory and keeps like using that memory and putting it back in a way that's like, since we understand the data usage patterns of that memory, it's very easy to make a good allocator for it. I think for SQL, this column memory, we should be using the same kind of technique, having a custom allocator that has a big pre-allocated pool at the start. You ask things for it, you put things back, you ask things for it, you put things back. That's going to help the GC behavior, and it's also going to help just like generally memory usage, since you know that SQL is only going to use that arena's worth of memory. So kind of long-winded answer, but the answer is basically like yes. So out of curiosity, where do we like set any of this stuff up? Because I've never really played with it. It's like MT, right? There's something called MT. So you can say create tenant client in it. Where do I, how do you like, let's see. MT start SQL. Okay, start a standalone SQL server. What about MT start KV though? Or is there no such thing as MT start KV and you just start a regular CockroachDB instance? I don't actually know how that works. What's up, Sinks? Doing pretty good, thank you. What about you? Rewrite in Rust? What about Zig? I hear Zig is like the new hot language to rewrite stuff into. RIIZ. But yeah, if we make this run start SQL stuff, I think what you end up is having a SQL server that is missing some of its guts, right? That's kind of the point here, right? How do I set one of these things up? I guess I could try it. So if I say cockroach MT, what happens here? Cockroach MT start SQL. Can't listen. How do I do cockroach empty start KV is the question. Or do I just want to bind to a different port? Oh, I can put a tenant ID 3. And then I could say, I guess I could say, I probably want to do insecure tenant ID 3, and I could say SQL adder localhost 26258. 8080 is already in use. Okay, so then I have to change the HTTP adder. HTTP adder localhost 8081. Whoops, 8081. So that worked. Add root user descriptor 4 not found. Okay, so I guess I have to make a new tenant first. I've never played with this. This is kind of fun. Cockroach MT. How do I make a new tenant? How do I do that? How do I make a new tenant exactly? How? Does anybody know? How do I do that? Wait, so what happens if I do this? It just says, oh God, I'm really doing something wrong, obviously. Big yikes. This feels like something's going deeply wrong. Insert session descriptor 39 not found. Maybe I need to like, I don't know. If I do this without a running server, it'll just fail, right? It just won't do anything. Yeah, I don't know how this stuff works. Okay, well, whatever. I guess there's probably some like secret sauce that I just don't know about. What if I just do it without a tenant ID? Does that work? Oh, that works. Oh, interesting. So maybe it's sort of like you do empty start SQL. Maybe it'll make you a tenant. And then you don't have to like, okay, so can I connect to the tenant? Cockroach SQL insecure localhost 26258. No. Host. So this is cool. So now I've got a multi-tenant cluster, I guess, right? Like this is create table A and primary key. Relation A already exists. That seems suspicious, right? How do I don't know how any of this works, honestly. This mode is, This I don't understand. See, wouldn't I would expect it to be the case that like if I'm connecting to this 26258 thing, which has SQL adder 26258 here, MT start SQL. How come? Oh, there's gotta be, oh, you know what I bet it is? Is there something like a create tenant command that I don't know about? How do I, let's see, what if I search create tenant? Ah, there's a secret command. Okay. So I can say select CRDB internal create tenant, and I can pass an ID. This incident is really going to be reported badly. Okay, so now I think if I say tenant ID 3, no, that still didn't really work. Let's turn off our auto trace. Set auto trace equals off. Run this again. Tenant already exists. Okay, I think I messed everything up by trying to connect before I made the tenant. So let's make a new ID. So this totally worked fine. Now I'm going to start with tenant ID 5. I bet it's just sort of like there's some sort of startup order issue. Okay, so that seemed to work. And then over here, then I shouldn't have any tables. Okay, sick. So that totally worked great. And I guess the point of me doing this was what exactly? Just to see whether we're going to be starting one of these status servers, I guess, and still don't really know the answer to that. So I guess we can find out. So as a tenant, I do have this HTTP adder, right? So let's actually go and make another SSH tunnel for this, but let's do it as 8081 and check out what we've got going on over there. Okay, so localhost 8081 then. Whoops. Localhost 8081. Huh. Okay. Well, that is interesting. What's the point of specifying an HTTP adder here then? I don't know. What's the worst pronunciation of CockroachDB I've heard? I haven't seen too many bad pronunciations of it, but I've seen a lot of misspellings of it that are pretty funny. Like CockroachDB, that's a classic. So yeah, I'm unsure like exactly what the deal is with this and whether these KV nodes will actually even have this status server altogether. It's deeply unclear. I feel like I might have bricked my iPad because it like is not turning on even after charging for like a while now at this point. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so right. This all being said, I suppose what we could do, right? So coming back to what are these protobufs doing here? There is this, the whole point, right? We've got our span stats, and I think theoretically what we could do is move this endpoint, span stats, endpoint, could move this endpoint into the KV client, right? So if I were to do that, this can't be the right, where's the API for that thing? Client.proto. Where does that whole batch request and batch request stuff live? Oh yeah, Roach PB. So Roach, or it's API.proto in Roach PB. So this is this giant service that KV API request. So I think theoretically what I could do is add to this big request union. And this is kind of how we have made this, our API in the KV side of the database. We have all these different things. You can see this is how you get or put or conditional put keys in the database. And I think what I could add here, I mean, this isn't, I've never really done this, and I feel like I'm probably mildly out of my depth here at this point, but I could say like, you know, admin span stats or whatever. I'm just not sure if this is like architecturally sound really. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of annoying that I can't, it's just QWERTY. Old Dadu. I like that name. I think that it's annoying that you don't have access to one of these things even on another, on the KV servers, right? Like that's just too annoying. Too annoying. How do I get a client? Yeah, like normally, okay, here's a question, right? Like to get a client interface to this status server, how does that work exactly? How does that work exactly? Back in our thing that we're messing with, sizestats.go. Oh, the iPad is turning on. That's exciting. Only like multiple hours later. It looks like what we do is we have this status.dial node. So if I look for dial node, you actually have to have a status server, which is honestly super weird, right? Like, I just don't know, man. It's really awkward. It's really awkward. I don't see why we couldn't just have people dial into the status server on the KV nodes. I don't understand why we couldn't just do that. And in fact, I don't see why we couldn't just dial into the admin server of the KV nodes. Like that all should be totally allowable. I don't get it. Is there a comparison map of Cockroach, like Cockroach versus Ceph versus Minio? Yeah, so I mean, I don't know about a map, but basically Cockroach versus Ceph versus Minio. Ceph is like a more of a file server, distributed file server thing. Matrix, I don't know what that is, but Cockroach is just a distributed SQL database. So anytime that you're used to using a SQL database like MySQL, Postgres, Aurora, Oracle, you know, any of these OLTP transactional SQL databases, we're like one of those, but it's distributed also. So that's kind of the short answer. Vitesse, it's all relational, yeah. We have some support for like object document storage via JSON. So you can have sort of a non-relational model inside of Cockroach pretty easily by making a table with JSON in it and indexing that with an inverted index, kind of like they would do in MongoDB or whatever. But the like top level model is relational, if that makes sense. So overall, I'm confused. You're welcome. You're very welcome, Dadu. Happy to answer such questions. Okay, so check this out though. Like I can actually do this whole thing without having to have any of these, I think, right? Like I don't need to have a status server to make this stuff happen, which is kind of interesting to me. Like theoretically, couldn't I just say like, so how do I get a node ID address? That is a question that I don't know the answer to. But I have a node ID here, right? All the nodes we need to fan out to. So I just need to figure out how to get the address of such a node ID. And how do we normally do that? So in KV client, there should be a way of doing it that we have. So presumably maybe I can get that. Use the same sort of thing. I don't know how this stuff really works, honestly. If you don't use Mongo, then you have to delete your own data yourself. It's more web scale to have your database drop your data for you. Yes, totally. Classic MongoDB jab. Love that. Amanuensis. You know, if you subscribe to this channel, you'll get a little notification that has a clip from the thing that you're referencing. So there's your incentive to subscribe. Plus all the great emotes, aka 2 of them, baby. Okay, so right. How do I get to that? So if I were to say s.cfg.db, which is our kvdb, and how does this implement stuff, right? We've got all this dissender business, but how does it actually get the IP addresses of the things that it's sending to? That's a fascinating question. It is a fascinating question for sure. The non-transactional sender. This is probably going to be a really deep rabbit hole too. Send using sender. Sender.send. Okay, I think this ends in this thing called dissender, right? I do feel like Mongo's gotten kind of a bad rap. Like people love to joke about that. And I think like to some extent, maybe there's still some truth about that, but I think that MongoDB's gotten pretty good. I don't think that it just will lose all your data all of a sudden or anything like that. Yeah, it used to be unreliable a while ago, right? Divide and send batch to ranges. Send partial batch. Eventually, somewhere down here, we actually send out requests for stuff. Eventually. But where is that? Where is that? Routing tokens. Get routing info? Send to replicas. Okay, this is looking good. Leaseholder is a replica descriptor. Does this thing have... No, this just still has a node ID, so it's probably somewhere... We take our leaseholder and then we somehow send it out to that leaseholder. Where does that happen?
Everybody knows that relational databases don't scale because they use joins, and write to disk.
Amanuensis, thank you so much for that Prime Gaming subscription. I hope you enjoyed the MongoDB is not web scale clip that played there. That was, I made that little clip myself, jazzed it up a little bit, but I hope you like that. Yes. Aphir looked at it not too long ago and it was a bloodbath. Row the nose, how'd you get into database development? Where did you start? I mean, honestly, I've done most of this stuff on the job. I work at Cockroach Labs, the company that makes CockroachDB, and most of the work that I've done in databases in my career has been here at this company. I've always been interested in databases, systems programming in general, but I didn't really like spend a lot of time doing that stuff before. The code seems nicely documented. Yeah, I think it's like, this is a lot of documentation. I don't know. And look how I'm just like completely ignoring it because I don't know why I'm doing that. Transport.next replica sounds interesting. So this is still replica descriptor stuff. Where do we actually send data, dude? Like, come on now. There's gotta be the end to this rabbit hole somewhere. Oh, this is where we get our batch response back. Where is that coming back from? Transport.send next. Okay, all right. We're getting somewhere. gRPC transport. Can't make useful abstractions in Go. I don't think that's true. A lot of shade in the stream. Yeah, this is like getting to be spicy. I don't know. I mean, people can have opinions, and I'm glad that they have those opinions. An internal client. Presumably this is actually the end of it, right? Whatever we're passing into send batch, this iFace stuff. Node dialer. Okay. So this is good. This is really good stuff. There's a gRPC transport. There's some sort of dialer inside of it, and there's something called dial internal client. So salty all day, all night. Is that salt? What is that little emote? It's a PJ Salt. That's got to be a classic Twitch one that I just don't know about. Okay, so check this out. Once I'm here, I think I could say like, couldn't I say, wait. Where's my dial again? Couldn't I literally say new admin client, server pb dot new admin client right here, server pb dot new. I could, and then I can pass in con. So this is the sort of bottom of the rabbit hole. All I need to figure out is to figure out how to get one of these n's, and an n here is a dialer. And I think I've got one of those at this point, right? So couldn't I say n.cfg? There's got to be some sort of node dialer thing. s.cfg dot. Where is my node dialer at? I suppose what I could do is search for who owns node dialers in general. An RPC context. This lives in. I think what I want to do here is just basically add this RPC context to my SQL server, and then I should be good to go. I think I should be good to go at that point. So here's where we actually make it, right? And then this is this giant initialization routine. And I think all we do is just like add that RPC server to, and the node dialer. The node dialer gets passed into a RAF transport and a store CFG, all sorts of stuff here. And to whatever this is. The SQL server, oh my God, should we have one? You guys, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. The DistSQL planner uses it. That makes a lot of sense why it would do that. DistSQL is the thing that kind of makes distributed SQL queries happen. So I bet we can just, let's see. Node dialer, it's just chilling right here. So do you ever use system function like nmap? You mean mmap? We don't really mess with mmap in this database. There's an interesting article called like why you shouldn't use mmap in a database. Doesn't this thing exist somewhere? There was some really good article about this. Maybe it's this. Oh gosh, this is some kind of like sketchy Hacker News read. This is not what I'm thinking of. But the point is that like most databases don't actually use mmap because it doesn't afford you enough control, I think is kind of the summary. I don't know. I don't have like a great. Andy Pavlo says, I've made public claims about the evil using mmap from databases. We started work on proving this last year but didn't finish. Early results were promising. Now there's MongoDB writing about mmap and WiredTiger. Huh, well, I don't know. Andy Pavlo is a database professor who's very funny. You should follow him on Twitter. How do you do it? You just use, like file IO methods, like read and write and fsync and stuff like that. You like eat the file into memory and kind of store it however you feel like it. And I guess just don't use mmap. Okay, so going back to there's something called like our new server in SQL that we've been playing with, right? I think this thing could theoretically, maybe executor config should have a node dialer, basically. That seems like a fine thing to do. So, oops, where do we actually set this thing? Isn't this a fun plumbing exercise? We love to plumb. We're plumbers here. Okay, so this is exactly where we were. This is great, this is great, this is great, because we literally have a node dialer right here. We were just looking at it. I thought, did we not? Or is it called dialer? Wait, what? Isn't this where we make our SQL planner? Yeah. CFG.rpc context. So inside of this, I guess we make a new node dialer out of our RPC context. No. CFG.node dialer. I see. It's in some other CFG thing. Oh my gosh, what a mess. What a mess. Okay, so CFG.node dialer. Oh my God, we did it. Okay, so now that we've got a node dialer, you guys, this is huge. This is huge. This is gonna be so good. This is gonna be so good. We can finally go over here and we could conceivably say something like RPC, because there's some sort of daemon that handles requests. Yeah, basically like there's a bunch of different of these like RPC servers that CockroachDB has on each of the nodes. It's a distributed database. Each node is sort of similar, and each node has a bunch of services that you can talk to. So RPC context in this case means really like the thing that you can use to connect to one of those services on a remote node, if that makes sense. But we still don't have the address though, do we? Like all we have at this point is we can say, s dot cfg dot node dialer dot dial. Oh, but this is great actually, because node dialer is actually shortcuts all of this crap. You don't need to get the node ID address. You already can just do it by passing in the node ID, which is truly the dream. I don't know what a class is. It looks like you can just pass in default class. Oh my God, you guys, we're really making progress here. This is gonna be really good. And it gives you back a con and an error. And so we can get rid of this stuff like this. Very exciting. Here we can return 0 error. And then what we get to do is, wait, is it not 0 that we're returning? We're just returning error. And then at long last, what we can actually do is we can say client is equal to server pb.new status client con. Oh my God. This is extremely exciting. I know it seems like not that exciting, but I'm telling you, it's deeply exciting. And then we can actually 2 hours of threading through code, 2 minutes of changing code. Yeah, basically. But it's worth it. It's gonna be really worth it. 100% worth it. Can we get some pogs in the chat? Oh, is that the current pog? Wow, look at that good pog champ. Is that from like some sort of dinosaur fighting game? You let the timeout factor in hard? I don't think I know what you're talking about. Timeout factor in hard. Oh, you're talking about this thing. What does it say? This says set a generates timeout on the context for each individual query. It's saying that so basically to make this stuff happen, we are, I don't know why that 5 comes through. That just seems sort of random. But basically the idea of what we're doing here is we actually have to fan out. What this does is, maybe I can actually use my iPad now. Okay, hold on a sec, guys. The iPad is charged. The iPad is charged. Let's open up our drawing app here real quick. Trust, device passcode. No, where's our good app that we like to use? It's called, what's our drawing app called again that we like? Is it this one? I forget what drawing app we like to use. What the heck? Oh, is it? What the heck? What's our drawing app called? This is brutal. Paper? No, dude, it's not Paper. Is it Sketchbook? No. Is it Sketches? Dude, it's just gone from my iPad? Is it Flow? No. What the heck? A software update is required. No. Read the license agreement on stream. I'm actually so confused right now. Oh, is it this one? There we go. Okay, I found it. Great. Okay. Okay, now. Well, bam. No. I think that there's something slightly wrong here. Properties, Jordan's I think I had to do the software update. I had to do the software update. This is so sad. Okay, I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect, and we can do the software update, and maybe we can read the license agreement on stream and see what happens with that. So yeah, that's gonna be great stuff. Really good stuff here, you guys. Man, lessons learned is the iPad thing needs to be set up ahead of time. Anyway, oh my God. Do you see that flash? And now it's gone forever. Oh no, this is... Okay, there we go. Yes, install. What's up, Glotchimo? I think we're theoretically doing it. Okay, so we're just gonna download this in the background. I'm gonna actually move this down to my bottom screen so I can keep track of it. And in the meantime, let's get back to business here. About the timeouts thing, yeah, the timeouts thing. Basically what this is doing is it's fanning out to each of the nodes that owns these ranges. And a table might have many ranges, and the table's ranges might have many leaseholders, and the leaseholders might be scattered all across the cluster. So theoretically, this thing could have to fan out to all the nodes in the cluster. So what we do here is we actually run these requests in parallel. So we have this, you can see we're looping over the node IDs here, and we're running run async task on those node IDs, which is going to make a asynchronous call to each of those things with whatever's in this little closure function, basically. And I don't know why we're setting 5.5 times 3 as the network timeout. That seems super arbitrary and random, but I guess you just have to set something from time to time. So it's like, fine. How do you enable the if error not equal to nil return error cold folding in VS Code? I don't know. This is actually Goland. I'm sure there's a way. I bet if you Google it, you can find something out. I don't know off the top of my head, unfortunately. Okay, so we run this whole business here, and if we say if error is not equal, I guess we could just return error here, right? And something is, let's just comment this out for the time being and figure out what we're doing over here. Oh God. Aren't you supposed to propagate the caller from the caller? Yes, so that's a very good point. Basically, the context of this project that we're doing on though is that like we're migrating this weird sketchy method from a sketchy area of the code that's sort of in the past to a part that's a little bit more normal. And the thing about the sketchy area from the past is that this function is actually getting called via the REST API that we use for this DB console front end thing. And so I think it had its own set of timeouts, and like, I don't know what was up with that, or like what the deal is with the timeouts from the front end or anything like that. So basically like, yeah, That's why they're like specific timeouts, I guess, in this code. I think now that it's migrated to somewhere that's more normal, we could just use the timeouts from the context, which I think would make a lot more sense. But like, I don't know. We're just, I guess, not really there yet. So this is now going to be called stats for span. And this is going to be span. And what is wrong with this? We return a UN64. Oh yeah, so right. I guess this is going to be more like resp error. If error is not equal to nil. Muscle memory is bad. How do I even type a... There we go. Return 0 error. And then I say return resp dot approximate disk bytes nil. Okay. Cool. So then I think we should be ready to... Yeah, so I guess the example of the timeouts here, right? It's like, I think that what we should really do here, I mean, ultimately, like, this is actually sort of fine. Like, we could just leave this and it's not going to make anything worse in a sense. But I think, like, since we've got the context from here, this context here is getting propagated from this method, table stats, and this method is getting its context propagated ultimately, well, it will be in a second, from our PG built-ins file, which is getting the context from SQL, and this is going to be the thing that actually has the client timeout that somebody might have set through SQL. So yeah, I think theoretically it would all work out. Theoretically, anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this might actually work now. So we could actually, I feel like we're almost actually ready to mess. Oh yeah, the last thing is that we've got to actually migrate the usages of, we've got to look at the last usages of stats for span and get them off onto this new method, I guess. Or, I thought we changed some callers of stats for span, didn't we? Stats for span. So, right. This guy, I think, is going to have to change. So this needs to actually call into, it's got to be like this. Why doesn't that exist, though? This confuses me every single time, not gonna lie. Okay, so it's SQL server dot PG server dot SQL server. Okay, we figured out what the deal is, but it's not pretty. It is truly unpretty. But I think it's fine. Let's just not think too hard about that. So we're gonna return this, and then we'll be good. Same for this one. It's gonna be s.server.sql server.pgserver.sql server. It's fine, guys. It's totally fine. There is no problem here whatsoever. Why is this still unhappy though? Oh, I need to say .stats for span. Okay, nice. And then just one more version of that. Why don't we just copy and paste what we've done here? Non-table stat error. All right. Solid stuff. So at this point, I feel like what we could do now is honestly make a commit with this stuff. Git add seek18, and we're gonna make a new commit on this branch called like work in progress, moving stats for span impl to SQL server. We can push this. And then over here on our GCE worker, we can kill our currently running server, make this a bit bigger here. I prefer the Iris over the Atreus. I'm just using this because it's a bit quieter. So if we say git fetch mine, right, this is the thing we wanted to automate. So I think I have something in my history for this, or I thought I did. More soundproofing? Yeah, probably. Oh God. Okay, what is the deal with this again? Git status. All right, so in the meantime, what about that? What about our whiteboard? Is this working now? It's working, but we have a new problem, which is our Apple Pencil isn't charged. This is brutal. I don't know what to say. Let's give our little Apple Pencil a little charge up, huh? Who loves the way that you charge an Apple Pencil? You like take it, you like stick its weird little butt adapter on, and then you can plug it in, or you can plug it directly into the iPad. Super awkward. Next time I'm going to try to prepare the Apple stuff before the stream, so it will all work. GS as an alias for git status is really baked in. Yeah, dude, same, exactly same. It's so true. The new one is good instead of terrible. The new Apple Pencil? Oh, okay. Every time I plug it into the iPad, you think it's gonna snap? Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. It's wireless charging. It sticks to the side of the iPad with magnets. That sounds cool. That sounds very cool, in fact. It sounds like a big improvement. Because then you can actually charge your iPad at the same time as you charge your Apple Pencil, which could be really nice. Right now it's like you can kind of do one or the other, but not both. Pretty brutal. Yeah. So you guys, I started thinking about how to build a PC. That's one thing that's exciting. I know I've been chatting about this on the stream on and off for a long time, but I feel like I'm pretty close to buying some of this stuff. Let me show you my my PC part picker list. Check it out. Check it out. All right. As you can see, we optimistically say that we can get a 5950X Ryzen CPU, right? optimistically, so far it seems like it's impossible to get one of these, so I don't know. And I've optimistically said that it's going to cost $800. All right, we're gonna go for it. This is just like the YOLO list. You know what I mean? This is our YOLO list. Here we have the Corsair IQ Elite. One thing that is really funny about these PC things is that all of the names of the parts are like so #gamer. It's like out of control. It's in fact super cringe because I don't want an Elite Capellix IQ Liquid Gamer. You know what I mean? It's like ridiculous. Anyway, so I want to have this extremely elite mega cooler here. Here we have the Asus ROG Strix B55 gaming motherboard. What do you guys think about this? Who knows the difference between a B550 motherboard and an X570, by the way? That was a question I wanted to figure out the answer to, and I really couldn't. Is it for gaming? It's actually kind of for streaming and working and maybe playing some games, because like, why not get some sort of epic GPU as well while you're at it? Look, you guys, I just want to build an epic PC. Is it that bad? Is it that big of a problem? It's going to be a spec'd out thing, and it might be a little bit overkill, but you know, just why not? Okay, import cycle not allowed, huh? What's the deal with this? What is it saying to me? Don't gamer shame me, dude. Contact someone at AMD and say you want to test the database on AMD stuff. It's not a bad idea, honestly. Okay, so it says that I can't import. What did I do? I can't import gossip from server PB? Is that the issue? What happened here? What is this saying to me? Not overkill if it lasts for more than 5 years. I see. So I added, oh, this is just random crap. I can fix that. I don't know why I committed that. That was just me playing around. Yay, okay, all is well. No panics, no panics. All is good. What did we do? Why did we do that? Just get rid of this. Complete garbage. Small unknown spend, dude. Large data bank. Bank versus spend is not, those are not opposites. I'm sorry. You failed. All right, let's try it again. Does this work yet? Apple Pencil still doesn't work. Still needs to charge a little more. When you save money, it goes to the bank. You tried your best. Yeah, that was good. Preston, I appreciate you trying. In this case, it just wasn't good enough. But sometimes your best is just not good enough. Sometimes that happens to us in life. See, what's the opposite of your name? Preston F 136. Try to do that one. That one's not going to be very easy either. All right. Reverse of bank is Jimmy. Okay, so we have this compiled, you guys. It's amazing. It compiled. And what happens when we say okay, so it worked, but I'm wondering if I forgot to like actually hook up any changes here. So if I go to my PG built-ins file, I do have a different keyboard today, LTJR Pliskin. If I go to this guy, how is this implemented exactly? SQL status. Okay, so this is what we've got to fix. We've got to say p.exec cfg.sqlserver.take table stats instead of having to go through this other weird thing. Look at this. It's so similar, but very, very different in a way. And this needs a username. That's right. Okay, so there's a little bit of an extra effort that we have to make here, which is to figure out how to synthesize our username. But that shouldn't be so bad. We should be able to have one right in our eval context, I think. p.eval context dot username. Where's my username at? How do I get a username living in? Why not get an AMD GPU? It's just because I want the like hot new stuff, obviously. I have no strong reason for this stuff. What do you guys think? What's the thing that I should actually be doing? Node username. Make SQL name for me. Where do I actually like, where does this stuff actually live though? Like how do I get a username from where I'm at, you know? Like for example, user, so where does this come from? Yeah, where do I get my username from? This seems like it should be a pretty simple question, huh? And yet, it doesn't feel that easy. Doesn't feel that easy. I thought it was living on this eval context, wasn't it? How come it's not living on this eval context exactly? Oh, is it in session data? So should I be able to say p.eval context.session data.username? User. Okay, fantastic. So my username is this. And then what else did I need again? I needed a username and I needed a database. So that should be p.eval context.db? No? Is it also session data? Yes. Oh my gosh, it's happening. It's happening. Okay, so let's, oh God. Who needs refreshment on muscle memory? So option is this thing now. There we go. So we're gonna grab our session data. And I think this will probably want to take a, oh, it is already a pointer. So then we can inline this thing like that. All right, cool. So we've got our user, we've got our database. We run table stats. We say approx bytes. I guess we can actually just return this, can't we? Nice. Okay. Very, very solid. Bingo serve knows everyone's name. Oh. Are you gonna run Windows or Linux? I want a dual boot. Just want any GPU? Yeah, exactly. No, I feel you on that. NVIDIA is no fun with Linux. Oh, I didn't know that. That's an interesting point. That's a very interesting point. I didn't think about that. NVIDIA and Linux is like fire and water. Is that so? Oh, it's because they have like closed source drivers or something like that? There's something weird like that, right? Okay, what? Why is this subtly different? So weird. Anyway, it seems like it's working. So good job, everybody. We did some plumbing. You know what we deserve for this plumbing? We deserve one of these. That's our sign that we did something good, you guys. Deeply excited. Linus Torvalds literally said, NVIDIA F you on a video. So let's take a look again at our okay. I'm just gonna say I embarked on an exciting plumbing adventure and moved the stats for span implementation into the SQL server. However, I still needed to call into the status server once per I guess it's once per KV node that has a relevant leaseholder. Say we still need to call in the status server was KV node that has a relevant leaseholder to fetch the span stats underneath. Is that acceptable? We do that via the, yeah, like in the end we actually I think we actually could have called into a remote admin server, right? Don't KV nodes in multi-tenant world still have an admin and status server all happily ready to serve? Let me quickly do a rebase against Origin here to get this stuff ready to go. And then maybe we can check out the Cockroach Cloud serverless free tier stuff. Maybe we're ready for that. Okay, so a couple little conflicts. I think these should both be really easy to fix. Okay, so it looks like what happened here is just that there's just two things at the end, so we can just merge them very easily, not really conflicting at all. It's just that they were next to each other, so it sort of seemed like a conflict. And then the other issue was number 11 here, which is what exactly? Same thing, we just added two new methods side by side and Git thinks that's a conflict. So great, not really so important. I actually think a bunch of this is now irrelevant, I think, but I don't remember. Why don't we, because I remember I had to do a bunch of weird stuff to get the table IDs or something, but I think we might no longer have to do them. I don't remember. My computer is acting slow, I don't know why. Oh, it's probably because my IDE is re-indexing everything after the rebase. It's probably the issue. Here we have to do, no, we still need all of these changes, I think. Oh God. Oh no. Yeah, let's just mute that. Awkward. Computer likes to make robot noises when it's overloaded. You're saving up for that 10,000 points? Good. I'm ready for you, Preston. All right. So back to this, we can just add this. Well, you don't get to tell me what code to write. You just get to have me sneak in a comment. Customize a comment with a single word, Preston. Oh no. That's gonna be a really tough one. People have been giving me softballs before. This one, I don't know how that's gonna work. Oh, you know what I can do? I know what I'll do. No, I've got a plan. I'll show you how this plan's gonna work in a second. Basically, the way that this plan is gonna work is that we're going to do it in a test, because tests are a great way to inject all sorts of funny stuff. You can basically, okay, so in my size tester, right? So how about this? Okay, so this test is now gonna insert 100 copies of the word Preston into this size tester table, and then we're gonna check the size of it. How about that? Done. We did it. We did it, team. We did it, Reddit. I think that should count, right? It's not exactly a comment, but it's like close enough. All right, great. Okay, so let's just quickly rebase our other branch to, actually, I don't think we need to do that. Even better than a comment, right? Yeah. All right, so why don't we, I think it's time to switch up the segment and do a little bit of Cockroach Cloud Free Tier, because we are at yeah, we're at whatever the time is for you non-Atlantic Standard Time folks. For me in Atlantic Standard Time here in Halifax, it's 7 p.m. But I think for East Coasters, it's actually 6 p.m., right? So now that we're at 6 p.m., it's a great time to switch focuses to look at Cockroach Cloud Free Tier. And to do that, I just wanted to actually do something for you guys, something neat, which is going to be getting a special link just for watchers of this here channel. Just for watchers of this here channel to be able to get. I'm not actually in Halifax. So here's the thing about Halifax time. The thing about Halifax time is basically that I opted out of daylight savings time this year. And so what that means is that I just switched my time zone to the next one over, AST. And then I changed all my clocks in my house and all the clocks on my calendar and everything to live in Halifax time so that I don't have to, you know, see it getting dark at 4:30 p.m. in the night. So that's basically what happened here. And here is going to be the special sign up link. And if you guys, obviously you don't have to sign up. If you're going to sign up after you watch this part of the stream, you don't use this referral link, it's going to be fine. But you know, do me a favor. Use the referral link. So here's this referral link. Referral ID is going to be LDB, large data bank. Okay, so that's your Cockroach Cloud sign up link. And now we're going to go through together and try out Cockroach Cloud Free Tier to see what happens. So I've already signed into my Cockroach Cloud organization, which you can make for free with that sign up link. And we're gonna go through this create cluster flow to see what it's all about. And I think it should be exciting. I think it should be exciting. So basically here in Cockroach Cloud, if you don't know about it, it's our hosted CockroachDB service. You don't have to deploy it yourself. You ask us to do it in either Google Cloud or Amazon. And normally this is what we had before. You could get a free trial, but it's kind of expensive and it's a dedicated cluster and blah, blah, blah. But here in Cockroach Cloud free mode, we can actually get a cluster for free, and it stays free forever, which is super sick. It has some limitations. It's kind of like, free tier of other cloud services. So you can use up to 1 vCPU. You can have up to 5 gigabytes of storage. But you have everything else, automatic upgrades and encryption at rest and all that good stuff. So we're gonna try this out and see what happens. And basically, yeah, we can use either Google Cloud or AWS. I think it looks like for now we're limited in region if you do free tier. I think if you do a dedicated, you can change the region and you can change the number of nodes. There's all sorts of customizability there, but for free tier, we're not there yet. And in fact, we may never get there. I don't know what the plan is there exactly. It's still in beta, by the way, you guys. Free tier, I think it's ready for beta usage. I wouldn't put your production apps on it just yet, but you should click around, play around, and see what happens. So let's try out let's do Google Cloud. Let's go do Google Cloud. So we're gonna do free tier, we're gonna do Google Cloud. Our cluster name is gonna be LDB on stream. And create your free database. So it's gonna say, welcome to Cockroach Cloud, your cluster will be ready in 20-30 seconds, which is pretty good. US can be an issue for you folks, yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, we're not ready, right, for like, it's completely launched in production, everybody, for you. This is just kind of a beta, so right now it's limited to that US region, but we're gonna improve there over time. Okay, so here's the thing. I checked beforehand that it's not going to leak my password here, because that would be kind of annoying. But basically it's gonna give me a SSL certificate to connect to. It's gonna give me the Cockroach client link if I don't have it, which of course I already do have it. It's gonna give me this connection string that has a password that will not reveal. I'll reveal it off stream so that you guys don't connect to my database. But you can make one of your own, right? If you click that sign up link, make one of your own, it's gonna be all good. So I will now copy this thing here, copy that URL. And I will go to my terminal and it's kind of annoying that I can't show that password on stream. It makes it a little bit like, I'm just gonna show a SQL shell and I'm gonna be like, take my word for it, guys, you're actually connected to this thing, because I can't show that total connection string. See, that's kind of annoying, isn't it? You know what I could do? I wonder if I could, let's see. Is there a way to like pass in the password from a file? Cockroach SQL help. Can I pass in the password from a file? Oh, obviously there's a what do you call it? Environment variable. So I can probably say, is there an environment variable? I guess I could just export the whole URL as a system variable. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let me just do that. So I'm gonna say export cockroach URL equals, and I'm gonna paste the connection string here. Yeah, then if I run, okay, so now I'm gonna put the desktop back here. And if I say cockroach SQL, what happens? I need an SSL cert, right? So let me download this cert here. Oh, but the URL contains the certs directory. Okay, I need to fix that real quick. All right, this is annoying. I should have set this up ahead of time. So let me fix the certs directory here to be /users Jordan ccca cert. Clear my screen, come back to desktop, and then Cockroach SQL. All right. All right, we're gonna get there. Yay! No. Okay, hold on a second. Oh my god, this is so cringe, dude. This is super cringe. It's definitely a typo in the file name. It's gonna be worth it in the end. Yeah, I have that. I think I just have another copy in that downloads directory there. It's much easier if you don't have to hide all this stuff on the screen, honestly. Okay, so users, Jordan, downloads. I think that was the issue. All right, just quickly test. File. Oh, you know what it is? You know what it is? This is actually super annoying, is that I can't use this cockroach URL environment variable for this. I'll just like set it up as like a file, I guess. So I'll say echo to cockroach URL. Okay, so then if I were to say cockroach SQL and then pass in cat cockroach URL, does this work? Unset cockroach URL. There we go. Okay. It's gonna be great. All right, you ready? Ready? Bam. Okay, so we've done this. We have our password not revealed over here. And then if I were to say this, Cockroach SQL URL, and then here's the magic URL that I pasted from the internet, then all is well. And so I have a connection to this free tier cluster, which is very deeply exciting. And we can see what's in it, which is nothing. So we can create some tables here. Give it a name. And this will show up all good. And so what's so cool about this situation, right, is let's insert some data here. In fact, why don't we make the table the same as the table that we made for Preston earlier? Or we can, you know what we could do? We'll make, let's see, create table friends. Our friends table is gonna be something like ID, UUID, default, gen random UUID, and we can say name string. Then I can say something like insert into friends. Name, values, and then I can give our friend Preston F136 an entry here. And if we look at our friends table, we'll have a entry just for Preston. Deeply exciting. Could put StarTAC in there. Could put Roach Rail in there. It's so user interactive, this database that we're making here. Can put offsec OX01 in there. And then what could we do? You know, we could make all sorts of fun stuff that I don't know what, I don't have any ideas for apps. Who has a good idea for an app? We could make like our, you know, our messages table or something like that, right? Maybe, you know, that'd be actually kind of cool. What if we had like a Twitch chat thing where you could basically be writing stuff into this free tier cluster just to demonstrate that it's all like pretty simple to set up, right? You could have a bot listening to the chat messages. You could have like a messages table. You could have like an ID. Do you even need an ID? I don't know. ID, UUID, default, gen, random. UID, you could have like a message, you could have like a text string. Column, you could have like a timestamp. Timestamp TZ. What else would you put in a message? I don't know, maybe nothing. Then of course you'd want a username too, right? So you could have a username, ID, references, friends, ID, username, UUID rather. No unique constraint ref matching given C's for reference table friends. Oh, did I not make this the primary key of the table? I did not make this the primary key of the table, so that's pretty goofy. That's a good demonstration of, we could use our new altered primary key thing, right, for this. My window's too small. We added this feature in Cockroach recently called alter primary key. I forget how it works though. Cockroach alter primary key. Alter table blah alter primary key using. So I can say alter table friends alter primary key using ID, or is it using columns? One thing about SQL that's irritating is that I have to make it non-null too. Okay, I forgot all sorts of stuff. I was too excited about free tier. So I could say alter table friends alter column ID set not null. And then I could say alter primary key using columns ID. And then now if I say show create table friends, it should give me ID, UID not null, default, and also constraint primary key ID. So that's cool. And then I think if I went back and did my create table messages, I should make this the primary key too. ID, UUID. Can I go like this? Forget how to do that. I guess it comes at the end, right? ID, UUID. It's just, it's kind of weird to have like a default along with the primary key. Is that normal? I guess it is. Okay, so then I can say show create table messages. And then theoretically this thing should all be good. And I could say, you know, insert into messages, values. I guess I would want to put messages, message, username, timestamp. I guess I could have made the timestamp default now or something like that. So the message is going to be thanks, and the username is going to be select ID. Oops, I should have made that user ID, right? Not username. I can fix that too. So select ID from friends, where, what did I call it? Name. Name is equal to dir, which we don't have an entry for yet, but that'll be fine. We'll just fix that later, and then we can put now. Okay, this is messed up. So this returned null. Okay, who knows how to do schema design? Who knows how to do schema design? One thing is that's funny is that I work a lot on SQL, but I really don't ever use SQL that much. So wait a minute. So I have to say alter table messages, alter column, rename, alter column, username, rename to user ID. Okay, rename column CockroachDB. alter table if exists table, rename column, blah, to. Okay, so it's just, it's not an alter, it's a rename column username to ID, to user ID. Then I can say alter table messages, alter column, user ID set not null. Good moment to drop the table and create it again? Never. Okay, so look at it. SQL, man. This is SQL. I tried to alter the column to set it to be not null, but the constraint validation failed because obviously the row that we just added is in fact null. So let's just delete that row here. So we're gonna delete from messages where ID, where I guess we could just say where message is equal to thinks. All right, so coming back into our insert, we fix it to say user ID instead of username. Wait, why did that work though? Oh yeah, it's because we didn't, we have to alter it to set not null. So this, we're gonna do that, did our alter. Now we do our insert and it should fail. Great. And then we can say insert into friends name values equals dir. All right, we've done it. Ladies and gentlemen of this Twitch stream, we have made a table with the message in it that we populated by hand. My Mac can't find the cert, you're struggling. Yeah, you have to like actually pass in the, that's one super awkward part about this whole experience that I really want to fix up, honestly, is that like, you shouldn't have to download the darn cert. Like it should somehow work for you automatically. I don't know, it just seems a little bit rip. Did I cut the wood to fit the keyboard? No, I didn't. I first of all, it's like, you can't really tell, but it's not really wood. It's like fake plastic wood that sort of looks like wood. And I also didn't make this thing myself. That would be sick though. I think what you should actually be doing is changing the URL to have the right path to the cert. It'll probably like show up in your downloads directory. And if you do that, it'll work out. But yeah, anyway, you guys, I'm glad that, yeah, it looks like StarTAC had a good experience getting that cluster set up. But yeah, I'm just gonna spam this link again. Sign up for Cockroach Cloud. Give me the referral points. I want to be the envy of my coworkers for getting the most referrals. You did that and it couldn't find it for some reason? Okay. Weird. It seems suspicious. This is a sharp edge in the user experience that I think it's just too sharp. You know, it's like super awkward that's a problem. I really want to figure out how to do better there. But anyway, what's kind of funny about the free tier is that like, what do you show off about it, right? It's like, it literally just works. And that's what's pretty cool, I think. I think we've done something fairly successful here. So if I close this now we're back onto our cluster that we made, and we can look at what we've got in this UI. And the UI doesn't have too much, I don't think, but it's got like storage capacity, right? I'm using 50 kilobytes out of 5 gigabytes. I've got very little throughput. I wonder if I could just like, could I like jack up the throughput just by like spamming selects, or does that not work? Select star from messages. If I like do this a lot, I wonder what's gonna happen. Does it notice? Ah, it noticed. That's actually so cool. It's like really pretty awesome, honestly. Wow. I'm impressed. I haven't played around with this. Like I said, this is the first time I'm actually playing around with this because it's pretty new. We just launched it last week. So what else can I do? I can look at SQL users. I've got a user Jordan. I guess I can add a new user. I'm not going to do that because then I would have to type the password, but I could if I wanted to. And what are my actions that I can do? It looks like my actions are all grayed out because I guess this is a free tier cluster. So I can't add or remove nodes because it's just not really how it's set up, right? And I could delete a cluster. I can't upgrade. I guess that makes sense because the whole thing is sort of on this multi-tenant setup. And yeah, that's like kind of all there is to it, but it's actually pretty sick, I think. What does this mean? What does this mean? tells you about how it works. Add Bobby drop table. Oh, you think should I try to SQL inject the SQL users thing? I am a naughty user with some quotes and semicolons. My password is password. Wait, I think if this works, then you guys could connect to this. Okay, I'm just gonna blank out my keyboard here for a sec. Wait, it's kind of hard to blank out my keyboard on this without blanking out my whole. Okay, I'll just go like this. Blah, blah, blah. Aha, so here's what it says. I am a naughty user with some quotes and semicolons is an invalid user. Row trail means, yes, the classic Bobby Tables comment. Did you really name your son Robert Drop Table Students? Man, that comic really had some wings, huh? Like, it's such a famous comic at this point. But anyway, I guess nothing happens with this, so that's kind of boring. Is Cockroach a startup? If so, how are you guys founded? It is, I mean, it is a company. It is still a startup, I guess. We were founded by some people who did other startups together. What does it say on our website about our founders? Here are our co-founders. You got Ben, you got Spencer, you got Peter. I forget the history. They were roommates or something. They also made the GIMP. That's a little known fact. That was like one of their early projects, the Linux image editor. But I think they all met at Google, partially. I don't know. There's a whole story there. I feel like there's a podcast about it where they talk about it. Did they work on Spanner? I don't know. I don't know what they did at Google, to be honest. But anyway, free tier. I mean, I don't know. What do I say? This is sick. Like, so here's how it works on the back end, right? Oh yeah, maybe my iPad's working now. Is it? Or is it? The whole iPad situation just didn't really work out today, you guys. That's the truth. The USB power is not working. The pencil didn't work. So I can't draw anything for you guys. It's so disappointing. I wanted to draw a little diagram. Ugh, what a mess. What a mess. But the point is that this free tier cluster, okay, what if we did it like on the old, what if we did it on like drawing website, Sketchpad. All right, we got a digital makerspace. Great. We got a pencil. Let's fill in everything this color. Got a pencil. Okay, so here basically is what the deal is with Cockroach Cloud Free Tier. Here's the internet. I hate mouse drawing. Internet. Here's you guys. Here's LDB, me. LDB. Mouse drawing, it's so bad. Here's Sartak. Sartak. This reminds me why I got the iPad in the first place. Too bad it's not working right now. Okay, so we connect through the internet. We hit some like proxy stuff. Nailed it, right? And then the point is that here on the back end, we have lots of these KV nodes. KV nodes. Many of them. ... KV. KV. Robin Malphite asks, use an iPad, which tool do you use to use drawings on screen? So I have a blog post about that. In fact, if you look at my let's see, jordanlewis.org. If you go to this website, wait, where do I, no, I think it was in my other blog post. Where do I talk about this thing? Virtual whiteboard. Check this out. See you, Rotrail. Thanks for hanging out. See you next time. But yeah, basically you can just use like OBS or QuickTime or whatever is like a video source reader thing. Anyway, so here are these KV nodes, right? They're the things that are actually storing all the data. And what you get, this is like a persistent layer. So this thing is like, it's living forever. And this is where all the data that everybody's free tier clusters is living inside of. But each of the key spaces for free tier are separated by this tenant ID. And so LDB over here and Sartak, they have separate tenant IDs and separate data areas inside of this cluster. They can't see each other's data because of this tenant ID thing. And at the front, what we get are these SQL pods. SQL. And these SQL pods are mostly stateless, or maybe completely stateless. I think it's completely stateless. Like they don't write anything to disk themselves, so that means they're stateless, right? And these can get spun up and down as load, increases or decreases, and they end up talking to, any of the KV nodes that they need to retrieve data. They do all the SQL processing and stuff like that. So when we connect, there's some other layers. There's some like proxy stuff here. I don't quite remember how that stuff works. Proxy. Oh God, that looks horrible. And they route you to a SQL node, or they'll spin them up and down if they need to. They'll spin up KV nodes up and down if they need to. And that's kind of how it's working. So point is, we have all of this, this cluster is ultimately the same cluster that Sartak and everybody else on the stream is using behind the scenes. It's just like, maybe I've connected via this thing over here and he's over here, but all the data is ultimately in the same backend cluster, if that makes sense. All this runs in Kubernetes. Yes. I think. Yes. I want to say yes. I don't work on the deployment or the creation of this part of the system, so my knowledge here is quite limited. I'm just kind of telling you my understanding of the basics. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is kind of what it's about. And one thing that might be interesting for me to look at here is if I were to, where the heck is my, if I were to say set auto trace equals on comma KV here. Is it the other slash? The other slash, right? Where's my other slash? I don't know how this keyboard works. Okay, there we go. So with this set auto trace, right, this is the thing that we like to use. It works. Oh, that's awesome, Robin. You're very welcome. So this is the thing that we like to use to look at the keys that actually get generated when we make data. So if we look at our table here, and we were to say, let's say select star. Let's say select star from messages where ID equals this UUID. What do we actually get here? Because this is going to tell us some very interesting things about what's actually going on under the hood that I'm curious about. So you see this. This is our tenant ID. And it's kind of a little suspicious that we can see its ID. I wonder if that's kind of something that we should think about. I don't know. Anyway, but I guess I can see my own tenant ID, which is interesting. I can see this is table 56, and then I see some keys. There's some details about IP addresses. This looks like some kind of local business, I guess. I don't really know. This is some other IP address. I don't know about this one. But the point is that we can actually see that we're looking at tenant ID 673. And I think the way that this stuff works also from an authentication perspective is that we've made sure that we can actually block requests from a tenant to the KV server unless they're using the right tenant ID and some authentication primitives that I don't really understand. But that's kind of how we made sure that we don't have people's information leak. Yeah, that's the syntax. yeah, so that's the idea. Looks like you can see that we're looking at replica 652. Korean Doctor Strange, thank you so much for the Prime Gaming subscription for 2 months. I really appreciate your support, my friend. Welcome back. Enjoy the emotes.
The data bank's too big. I have to narrow down the search. How are you gonna do that?
Zerius, RH Codes, Tyonar, Gonsalu, and Offsec. Thank you guys so much for the follows. It's not your money, it's Bezos's money. I'll take your Bezos money anytime though. Or is it still Bezos's money now that Bezos is gone, right? Is it now like some other guy? Okay, see ya, Offsec. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope to see you another time on another stream. What'll be other cool stuff we could play around with here? See ya. Does Starlink give you any idea? Any idea about what, my dude? So yeah, I don't know. We've got our tables, we've got our estimated row counts, we don't have our new function CRDB internal or you know, what was it called, PG total relation size yet. That's what we've been working to add. But I think what's kind of cool about what we did on stream today is that when this does work, it will work both in the free tier multi-tenant environment and the on-premises environment correctly, whereas before I think it would have just thrown an error here that's like, this doesn't really work on the free tier environment. Your tenant ID is lower than mine, as valuable as a 3-digit /.user ID. Yes. I think you might be right about that. Sequential user IDs. I feel like sequential user IDs tend to be somewhat of an anti-pattern in services, but I think in this case it's fine, right? Because you can't, there's no kind of like enumeration attack that you can do with this stuff because it's all authenticated and like, I don't know how what the best practices are there exactly, but brighter minds than minds have thought about it. Oh, buy a house in the mountains to get the Starlink. Yeah, I've heard that the Starlink stuff is going pretty well, right? Starlink beta. Can't you like sign up for this now? SpaceX begins accepting $99 pre-orders for its Starlink satellite. Internet service is Musk Eyes IPO. At worst case, you can guess how many folks have signed up. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. $99 pre-orders. Okay, so it's like you can't get it yet. US, Canada, and UK. I've heard that it's really fast, but it goes in and out. Like every couple of minutes, there's like a 1-second outage or something like that, right? Starlink reviews. Fast, but it'll cost you. Where do they talk about where it gets cut every couple of minutes though? Because that's kind of like, it's kind of an important one, right? Starlink uptime. Let's see, let's I can't type, Starlink, like outages minute over minute. 5 to 10 minutes of beta outages a day. Anyway, whatever. It seems cool. I want to play with this. It would be really awesome.
Everybody knows that relational databases don't scale because
Sartak, thank you so much for the 4 months of subscriptions. I really appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for your support. I hope you enjoy that Ancient Aliens like emote. Maybe one day I'll have more of them. I don't know. Well, anyway, I don't know. What else should we do? You're very welcome.
The data bank's too big. I have to narrow down the search.
George
How are you gonna do
Ortolan.
that? By guessing.
Thank you for the follow, my friend. I think I'm kind of feeling like it might be time to end the stream. I feel like we've done our mission. We've played with Free Tier a little bit. Funny thing about Free Tier, like I said, it's just like, well, it just works, right? It's just a database, and we play with those every stream. So it's like, how do I make it feel exciting? I think the way to make it feel exciting, again, is to copy that good virtual, sorry, the referral link. Copy that referral link and sign up. Everybody sign up for this great Cockroach Cloud Free Tier service, and it's going to be super fantastic. But anyway, yeah, so I think I'm going to call it though. This was a really fun stream, you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. It was really a good time. I do stream every Fridays, 3 p.m. Eastern time for a few hours. Sometimes Sundays. Lately, I haven't been streaming on Sundays, but I think I'll bring that back at some point. And yeah, you know, have a good weekend and everything. We're gonna find somebody to raid now and give them a little bit of a raid for funsies. You gonna watch the Knicks? Is that a thing that's happening on the sports right now? Let's see. So who all is streaming? We got our homie Anthony. We could give him a raid. He gave us a raid pretty recently. We could send the love back. Who else is on? Just to check to see if we can spread that love a little bit in the right directions. Audio effects. Exclamation. Oh my god, everybody has green screens, dude. Are you kidding me? Everybody has green screens. I feel like I'm gonna need to up my game. Green screen, green screen, green screen. What is the deal? Couples therapy Ruby beginner exercise? Wait, that sounds really funny. Oh yeah, we rated this guy last time. Okay, we can't rate him again because we just rated him. But he's awesome. You guys should give him a follow for sure. You know, I think we're gonna give Anthony a raid because he did raid us last time. So let's make that happen. Let's make that happen. Raid Anthony writes code. I'm sure you guys know and love Anthony. He's a fantastic streamer. He streams like all the time, almost every day, I feel like. So he's he's a big name for you guys to know. Fun person to hang out with. But anyway, here's the raid message. Here's the raid message. If you've got this, you're gonna spam this, and you're gonna spam one of these Twitch raids, you know? Twitch raid like this. And you're gonna spam this guy, yeah? Okay? So guys, thanks so much. See you next time.